2, 1, and we are recording with Dave Collum and Mr. Tom Luongo for episode 847, Sunday, June 26, 2022 at 3:07 p.m. Eastern Time. You now can't kill your babies anymore, but you can boost them. So I don't know if we went forward or backwards, but gentlemen, what are your thoughts on the current state of the world burning down, aside from buying gold and ammunition and water?
I'm stocked up on cigars.
Okay.
I'm running out of whiskey though. I'm gonna have to go make a whiskey run.
That is true. Dave.
Well, I just went on the combo Atkins / intermittent fasting diet. And I'm right at that moment. Anyone who's done it knows this, that some number of days in, all of a sudden you have no energy. So you burned off all the carbs and your body hasn't yet figured out it's got to go chew off all the fat now. And so
yeah. FYI, it's something I've learned over years of doing this. You're probably short on salt. You're getting rid of all the salt, and your body
Interesting.
So no, seriously, start getting a regimen together of. I use a salted lemonade using a product. It's called True Lemon. I think that's what it is. It's basically just crystallized lemon and stevia, and that.
Well, I've always found it passes. I've always found it lasts about 2 days, then goes away.
Yeah, but if you go through when you're dumping water the way I've been through this, and if you go on a hardcore carnivore, no carb, the whole 9 yards, yeah, you'll run
intermittent too. I'm throwing intermittent in there.
Oh yeah, and intermittent fasting, it's all good. It's good for you.
You know how many pounds I've lost since Thursday? I've lost 8 pounds since Thursday. You can hear my body sizzling in the frying pan.
Yeah. Well, the first 3 or 4 pounds are always going to be water, and then after that, it's But this is a very good thing. Excellent.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. Right. I do intermittent. It's the only thing I can force myself to. It's pretty easy. I find if you sleep for 8 hours, go to the gym, you're on caffeine. I find going to the gym always kills my appetite for several hours. Yep. And then if you do a couple podcasts, you're really not thinking about it. You're just working. By the time you sit down, you're ready to eat. It's like, I don't know. For me, I don't eat till like 8 p.m., but then I'm in bed like 3-4 hours later. So minimize that window down to the actual time where my fat ass can be like, oh, now's the time for. And then my ace in the hole, and this is terrible, and I'm sure all my prepper friends and Delta Force guys are looking at me like I'm a fucking moron, but I just don't keep any extra food in my apartment. I literally keep 2,000 calories at a time. So when I wake up in the middle of the night,
Tom and I will tell you to change that pattern.
I'm gonna say, dude, you're talking to the guy who has who during COVID bought an extra chest freezer just to put the cow in it.
Oh, I know. Everyone I tell that is like, you're a fucking moron. But for years I couldn't lose weight, and now it doesn't. You wake up in the middle of the night and you're like, your little fat ass is like, oh, I wonder if I want some. You go in there, you just open the freezer, and there's just like a rock solid chicken breast and like a tray of ice, and you're like, I'm going back to bed. Fuck this shit. So it's working for me.
But again, Tommy, the same thing. The same thing I tell Dave. Your hunger pains go away. You're more often than not. You are
within about a week. Within about a week too. Even without the salt trick, which I'm glad you told me. You're mentally you adjust.
Yeah, you do adjust,
and you're not even get hungry till 5 or 6 o'clock at night.
I know. You can easily go eat one meal a day. And, if you want to go OMAD, one meal a day, I did that for a while. We did that eating one ribeye a day at lunch, his and hers. We would just sit down. Camille and I would sit down for lunch, have a big friggin' 18, 20 ounce ribeye, whatever it was, and that was
exactly.
It. And then did that for 4 months, and I lost 35 pounds.
Jesus.
So I did it for 8 straight years while I was doing serious Taekwondo. And I wouldn't eat anything until after my workout, which sometimes went till 10 o'clock at night.
Wow.
And then what would happen is all of a sudden there'd be some event where I had to have lunch with a speaker or something.
Right.
And by 11:30, I'd be gnawing my arm off.
Yeah.
Psychologically, I'm sitting there going, dude, you're gonna have lunch, and I would be gnawing my arm off.
Yeah.
I know how that feels.
Yeah. And I'm just thinking someone's going to be watching this and be like, this podcast is sponsored by the World Economic Forum. We're sitting here telling people it's good to not eat. We're all just like, it's changed my life.
No.
Not eating.
It's good to not eat a lot many times a day. But when you do eat, you fucking eat meat.
Right. That's the funny part. That's the funny part.
Eat all the meat.
the red flags should go up if I come on here and I'm like, I'm trying a diet of love, just grass and crickets. And guys, I got to tell you, it's really changing my life. You guys thought about Davos? I mean, what a beautiful place. Yeah, that's how you know. That's how you know something's up when I'm sitting here telling you that. I'm like,
glassy-eyed.
Got rid of my apartment. I'm in this little fucking pod. It's great. They swab my asshole every day. I mean, I've never been happier. But
did you see their most recent one that was weirder than you won't own anything and you'll be happy? It said life does not have to be meaningful.
Oh yeah. New study shows that
Holy-
life doesn't have to be meaningful to be worthwhile. And it's like,
What?
I mean, they're just
What?
we're slow.
Well, they're
walking
literally
up to
saying
the-
it's okay to sit around all day, jerk off, and play video games.
well, you can see
While
yeah,
we put you on UBI.
and you can see
You
the
just,
next step
you
after
just sold
that.
me on it. You just
next-
sold me on it.
The next step
I mean,
after
you
that's
know,
going to be if it's not
I mean,
worthwhile.
I'm not saying that that's not a significant portion of my day. Oh well, TMI.
Well, you can already, but you can
but,
already see
you
it
know.
happening. You can already see it happening in like some Nordic countries. They have those suicide pods. Have you seen those?
Yeah. No, I haven't.
Oh my God, that's some dystopian shit. It's like a futuristic. It almost looks like a giant like snowmobile helmet, but like big enough for you to sit in, right? And it's got like the opaque sides and the glass on top. And it just shows like a woman smiling, and it's like you press a button and it rapidly fills with nitrogen, removing the oxygen. You drift off to a painless death. But they're called suicide pods, but there's like they have like the same ad department as like Apple. It's like sleek, like no carbon footprint. Like you go in there and it's done. You can see them starting to. They're boiling the frog. They're doing it first. You own nothing to be happy, and then it's life doesn't have to have purpose. And now they're just walking up to like,
Hey,
press a button.
why don't you just kill yourself?
Well, hey, Jill killed herself, and that removed 115,000 kilograms of carbon release over the course of her lifetime. Like Jill made a difference. We'll even put up like a digital plaque in your name. You can see it happening.
Oh, they're going to be selling NFTs against that shit.
100%.
Only on Ethereum, though. Remember,
100%.
only on Ethereum, not on any proof of work blockchain.
They're walking us up. The Overton window is shifting more and more. It's accelerating. It's rapid.
I've been saying for years, Tommy, that we're going to wind up in some terrible cross between an episode of Black Mirror and THX 1138. Like, and even in a I mean, how prescient was Lucas to create a fake religion with a video screen and a tape going, yes, I understand. Oh my God, forgive me. Yes, you are my son. Don't worry. Go consume and be happy. I mean, go back and watch that movie again, and then actually watch it as like, completely black pilled. And it's the biggest black comedy of all time. Like right up there with like Dr. Strangelove, SOB, and some of the other great Fight Club. They're the best black comedies ever made. Right. I laugh my ass off every time I watch that movie.
Did you see the clips from the X-Files series?
No, I didn't, because my wife actually watched that season of X-Files and told me all about it years ago.
Oh, I thought maybe they faked it. This is where they have this disease, this change in your DNA, and that it is absolutely COVID 1.0. Boost COVID 1.0. Go on Twitter and search X-Files. And somewhere in the first 3,
right,
you will find about a 2.5 minute clip of various X-Files scenes, and you're going, holy cow, they nailed it.
I was watching the other day that they did this. I was watching, I'm like, oh, look, they laid everything, they got it all right ages ago. I was watching something else, and it was like 15 years ago, and they got it all laid out right. It'll come to me during the course of this podcast, something I watched recently, and it was the same thing.
Did you see Prodigal Son in Miami Vice? So Miami Vice, they're chasing the drug lords, and they're working their way up the chain to try to get to Mr. Kingpin, and they end up in the office of this wrinkly old man who is rumored to be the model for the bad guy on The Simpsons, the banker. Okay. And he sits there and he basically says, he talks to Crockett and Tubbs. He knows who they are, and he says, here's the deal: the Colombians owe us a ton of money. And if they don't pay us, our banks are going to go belly up. So you're not going to stop this. And I'm watching this going, that is exactly right. And now we know that, the drug lords are either our drug lords or we whack them, that's that sort of thing. So,
yeah, there's like I think it's in the movie, is it Sicarios, where they get down there and like, I don't remember what scene it is, but it's basically like He's looking at him. He's like, "What are you doing here?" Because like he knows that the guy is talking to CIA, and he's like, basically gives him the black pill moment. He's like, these like bloodthirsty cartels that like behead women and children. Guess what? When we know where they are and how they operate, we can control all of them, and it's less chaotic than if it's just you get rid of the cartels. As we saw in Iraq with Saddam, it's like get rid of Gaddafi, you're going to see bloodshed and depravity on a level you can imagine. And it's like there probably is that moment where you look at like the highest echelons, and it's like, yeah, those are all our guys because we have tabs on them. We can.
Well, it's not like the heroin. It's not like the heroin trade stopped when we went into Afghanistan, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, exactly. Actually, the heroin trade and the fentanyl trade out of Afghanistan, the Taliban had stopped it, and that's the reason we went into Afghanistan is to restart it because the CIA needed a goddamn offsite budget. I needed an off balance, an off books budget.
Yeah, didn't someone it was on like Reddit years ago.
Did you not know that, Dave? I'm sorry. I thought that was like common knowledge.
Well, I didn't know that. I thought
you don't read Lou Rockwell enough, dude. Like this is
I do read Lou Rockwell.
No, but they've been saying this for 20. We said this 20 years ago.
Yeah,
there's the problem is there's about 6,000 feeds out there that give interesting information.
I'm only giving you some shit. You're allowed to not have gaps in your knowledge because God forbid there's so much shit out there.
Well, then there's the Catherine Austin Fitts bottle that says the Pentagon is just unaccounted. We have unaccounted for $4 trillion. If you look at the however many trillion they bailed out the system with over COVID, where'd that money go? Right? We know it didn't go in. I did a little math. It probably went about 250 billion into people's pockets. And the rest was who the hell knows.
Well, most of it is just sterilized QE.
Right.
The way I'm looking at it, when I look at excess reserves of the bank, they renamed IOER, interest on excess reserves. It's now interest on reserve balances, right? Because whenever the Fed wants to change anything, or they just tell you, they stop calling it one thing and then they call it something else. But interest on reserve balances, like the reserve balances are like $4 trillion.
Right.
Yeah, I mean that's where it went. It's just sterilized QE, and then you've got the 2.2 trillion in the reverse repo facility. The Fed's sitting on $6 trillion with which to decide what interest rates are or what the price of money is going to be for the offshore dollar markets. I'm firmly convinced. Every day I become more and more convinced that the Fed is running an operation on Davos and they're running rings around it, and they're going to kill the euro dollar futures market. And every day I'm watching the euro dollar futures market, and I'm like, dude, if this was a cardiac patient, they'd be prepping the fucking paddles. Like, have you been watching the shit? It's like 20 basis points a day in one direction and then the next.
I think you said that, Tom, on like our first episode. You said you can see the divergence between Davos and the Fed and Wall Street because all of a sudden you have these Gordon Gekko, Jordan Belfort types looking across the table at these Klaus Schwab types, and they're like, "The fuck are you talking about?" Exactly. What? Like how am I going to eat caviar out of a Lithuanian woman's pussy if we're all like equal living in like Davos or something? No, I want the yacht with 2 helipads on it. Like
exactly. At the very least, Tommy, they're eating caviar out of a hot Lithuanian chick's, vagina, pussy, whatever you want to clam, twat, bearded clam, whatever you want to call it. At the very least, it's not, and they're not, fucking little children.
Yeah,
like they're like those guys are. Like but I said this morning, every to my people on Slack, my private Slack server, I said, like their entire ethos is just how can we create loss due to friction within the entire global economy in order to get our way? Because that's like their entire ethos. Yeah. Other than fucking little children, of course. Yeah. Because that's like the other part.
That's 51% of it. Yeah. Maybe you have the Wall Street guys looking at the Davos crowd, and you have guys like Jordan Belfort looking at them and going, those guys have no standards. Like, you have these guys that have burned down the system.
Poor Dave is over there going, "What the fuck? What the fuck did I get into?" Today?
And they're like,
yeah. Oh, did I mention I only have 12 minutes left?
Dave's like, "Hey guys, I gotta run." Like, Jesus, like
I gotta do my hair.
Yeah, I was just looking at the clock, and I was like 21 minutes in, and I answered my own question. I'm like, how come I'm banned from YouTube? And it's like, because they're fucking the kids. But so it's like, well,
you allowed me on camera with a drink. Like, what else did you expect?
Some questions answer themselves, I suppose. But do you think to go back to, oh, well, I want to go back to the heroin in Afghanistan. Someone made a post on, of course, all credible sources come from 4chan, but it was years ago, and it was someone like kind of overlaying like a satellite map, and they're like if you used just a handful of J dams on this one dam, and they like overlaid it with the topographical map, that you'd flood all these opium farms, and thus you would kill like the revenue stream of the Taliban and Al Qaeda. And it's like, so why don't we do that instead of occupying with 500,000 troops? And like the reply under it was like, because that's our fucking opium, you retard. like
Yeah, I know.
that's why. When it looks that easy, that's why. That's
Exactly.
that's kind of dark. But to all the missing money, you guys are both much more well versed in this than I am. So my conspiratorial mind always goes to things like black budgets. Do you think that it's just a way of, I mean, truly going off the books and just saying, oh, we can't find the money, and that's what's going into some fucking DARPA program? Or is it a lot less sexy? Is it just greasing the palms of a bunch of cronies? Or both?
I'll let Dave, you go with this one.
I don't know, actually. Every time I try to figure out what the big plan is, I just get stuck. Money alone doesn't explain things to me. They have so much, Gates doesn't need more money.
Yeah.
None of these guys need more money. So the question is, what's it all about? The only thing that explains it, I have one theory that explains it beyond just, I'm listening to an audiobook on evolution. And one of the things that happens in evolution is it's just random, right? There's a randomness to it, not just genetic drift, but you develop some ability, which then millions of years later, that thing gets hijacked to do something else.
Yeah.
As a result, it's not perfectly suited for what it's now doing, because it didn't start life with the idea of becoming an eye, or whatever. And so you find that the designs have all these flaws in it. And so, the one model that to me is kind of an overarching theme that would explain it is, if resource depletion is real, and the guys at the top, for various reasons, it could almost be benign, right? You'd almost give it to them, say, hey, we're in trouble. We got to save the world by some cockamamie plan. You can imagine them believing. Of course, Stalin believed he was doing the right thing when he killed 20 million people too. That they realize that we're going to run out of stuff. And if they know that, then a lot of the plots fit together pretty well.
Yeah.
Now, it's just a theory, right? It's just, and the odds of it being right are almost zero, because it's too simple.
Yeah, I've given them that benefit of that doubt many times in the past.
Well, I'm not sure it's benevolent to what they're trying to do, right?
I'm willing. I've been willing to entertain that argument many times over the, going, okay, maybe peak oil is real, and then I look at the numbers, and then I understand tech, and then I apply my ability to understand technology and markets and human ingenuity, and then I look at the vast amount of suppression of alternative technologies for energy production,
Nuclear,
and I realize that doesn't fit. They've spent
money
suppressing cheap replacements for oil than they've spent suppressing the cheap oil. Like it doesn't make any sense. That's why it doesn't fly for me. That's why I think it's malicious and not anything else.
Let me ask you this: what if the sentiment is so bad about nuclear that that the guys who say we got to go to nuclear, which I think is patently obvious, right? It's patently obvious. Every single quantum jump in our civilization has been fueled by some new energy. Mm-hmm. Starting with taming fire and things like that. What if they said, look, we're never going to convince a NIMBY crowd. We're never going to convince them one at a time. Let's just beat the living piss out of them with an energy crisis. And the same people who said, just please vaccinate me 5 times, will say, just please create nuclear power.
Well, maybe, right? And again, I don't think that's the case, because they've known since the 1950s that the thorium fuel cycle is an order and a half of magnitude more efficient of energy returned over energy invested than either oil or uranium.
Right.
Period. Uranium
Right.
is only marginally more efficient in EROEI over oil. So
Right.
what the fuck are we doing? Like, uranium was always just the reason that the Greens were originally anti-nuke, along with being anti-war, and then they were co-opted over the course of time into this climate change religion bullshit, was because the Department of Energy was always was always an off-balance budget for the Department of Defense to make nuclear weapons.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole purpose of us choosing uranium-238 and the uranium-235 over thorium, which we knew in the 1950s with Oak Ridge and everything else, that we could create thorium reactors with the uranium-233 cycle that would be far better. And there are multiple ways of getting to the using thorium, and so it's very obvious. If EROEI of oil is roughly 75 to 1, and maybe it's fallen to 70 to 1, just to make Chris Martenson feel good about how he's been fleecing people about peak oil for 25 years. It pisses me off. And you know me, Dave, I name names because the whole peak oil argument drives me up a fucking wall, because there's more oil out there now than there was when the peak oil guys were talking about this ages ago. The reality is that oil in real dollar terms since 1973 is up 13%. Other than, the recent move to 125 because of the war in Ukraine. But when oil was even at $85, it was only at 13% in real dollar terms via the CPI, which we all know to be vastly understated. So it's mostly been a monetary phenomenon, which is the rise in the price of oil. Okay. But we've known forever that, so if oil is 75, nuclear is about 80 to 85 at max, and thorium is around 2000.
Well, but you might have just given the answer to the question, and that is that as long as nuclear weapons were the weapon of choice, then they waved off thorium. But what's also seems clear to me is, if from what I can gather from reading books on China and Chinese philosophy, is that nuclear weapons in the future, they might still be a pain in the ass, but are not viewed by, say, our adversaries as the way to destroy us.
Mm-hmm.
And that it's going to be, this unlimited warfare approach, this weaponize everything.
Right.
And so then the question is it possible they're saying, okay, now we go to thorium, right?
I think these people are all Malthusians. I think Davos rhymes with Thanos. I've said this before. The whole Marvel story was taken up by the powers that be to
prep the mind,
humanize the destruction of half of humanity, and embed it deeply in the mindset of 2 generations worth of humans in the developed world, that Thanos was actually doing God's work.
And you look at
humanizing him. And I think that this goes back to Julian Huxley and UNESCO and the Club of Rome and all of those guys, which said humanity is a virus. We cannot be trusted with cheap energy, and we need to be curtailed and managed like livestock.
Right.
And that's why we're not allowed to have nice things, i.e., cheap and abundant energy, because they don't trust us with it. And since they control the money spigot, because we live in the age of the central bank controlling the value of money and the price of money, they've used that egregiously against us. Now that era is coming to an end. We're gonna, this is the end. I think the end of the era of the central bank. I think it's a 300+ year cycle that started in 1694. It's all coming to ahead all at the same time. The solar cycles, the societal cycles, the economic cycles, all of it are all coming to a head all at the same time. And it's all going to peak, and then it's all going to collapse. And then what comes out the other side is going to be a much more rational world, where those people who have created that world will be broke. Jim Rogers is going to be right in the end. All of the Wall Street guys are effectively, and the old money are going to be poor, and the farmers are going to be the ones and the oil, the guys who work the oil derricks are going to be rich. And that's where I think we're going to be in 10 or 15 years. I don't know that, the way I'm smoking, I don't know that I'm going to be around to see it, but hey, whatever, but I can't be bothered at this point. So I can't be arsed to fucking care, honestly.
Yeah, the fact that they haven't utilized, unless of course they are, and they're, because I guess one way, if it was total control instead of resource scarcity, right? Because if thorium reactors, or even just an order of magnitude increase in fission reactors, the shit we already have,
Well,
that
just
would
better, just better, just something other than light water reactors, which are terrible technology, right? In terms of their potential for complete and utter fucking disaster,
sure,
right? Where they're dependent upon regular shipments of diesel fuel to run the generators to keep the friggin' fuel rods that are on site that we're not allowed to move into long-term storage from melting fucking down. Like, we're one hurricane. You don't think this is my biggest worry living in Florida right now. My biggest worry in living in Florida right now is that Florida is so far off the Davos agenda that if we have a major hurricane this year, do you think we're not going to get the New Orleans treatment?
Oh yeah, you are.
And we have at least 2 major nuclear reactors that may not get enough, that may not have enough diesel fuel to keep the fuel rods from melting down. And that these fucking people and that these assholes in Washington would be happy to stick it to Florida and then cause a civilizational event, i.e. the meltdown of Crystal River and the other friggin' nuke plants that we have here in Florida.
You know, their ability to not see forward reminds me of the hurricane that took out the hangar with all the stealth bombers in it.
Right.
And I'm sitting there going, you guys, okay, you don't know when hurricanes are coming. What I do know is having stealth bombers stored in corrugated metal hangars in hurricane country strikes me as kind of stupid, right? At least build some.
A little wasteful.
Little wasteful, yes, a little wasteful.
So,
or a complete failure of the bureaucracy to do anything.
Or intended, destroy them so we can't have a gap in our stealth bomber fleet.
Nah, they only build, well, they build these things in order to pad contracts and make people rich, but they don't actually ever want to use these weapons.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's remember, all they want to do is, and if they do use those weapons, they only want to use them because people can't fight back.
Yeah. Yeah. We use our B-2 Spirit against tents in Afghanistan, not China. We make sure that we bomb them from orbit so that they don't know it's coming. But so then we conclude that, because I think we've both, I think all of us have talked about it on separate podcasts about, just playing the mental exercise and giving them the benefit of the doubt and saying that it's resource scarcity. It's like them, it's like laying off 1,000 employees. It's not because you're a greedy fuck. It's you actually trying to keep the company float. We'll float that as right. Maybe they are doing it. It doesn't seem like it because they could be using thorium reactors if that truly was the concern. So I don't know what it is otherwise. Is it just?
Well, it might not be just energy, though. Might not be just energy.
Might be food, water, arable.
Well, everything is all those things are derivative of energy. But I think the point being is that that
it might just be that
the
they don't
loss
need people
of the
anymore.
loss of the time to develop the technology. The thorium story is happening regardless. Like the more I dig into it, the more it's happening, right? And but it's not happening in the West.
It's in China.
Happening in
Yeah, China's doing
happening
it.
In Russia. Rosatom is building a 4 megawatt pilot plant. The Chinese already have a 2 megawatt thorium molten salt reactor running in, so like it's already happening. Like again, at the end of the day, you can't control everything. Like that's the problem with these people. They think they can control everything, and they can't even control. Hell, they can't even control us on Twitter.
Yeah. Yeah. The fact that I was stamped out on YouTube and I can just do this on another website doesn't really leave you quaking in your boots, right?
Right.
So, well, then you have to wonder: are we just reaching a point in human history where we are rapidly approaching an era where they don't need as many useless leaders, smart enough to work the machinery but dumb enough to not question the hierarchy? Could we be approaching cheap robotics and sufficient enough AI to do what you have to keep around, surgeons? I don't know. Are we just approaching a point where they don't really need us? And it's not an energy
That's what
thing.
they think.
It's not a resource thing. Are they just like, hey, why even risk it and have all these fuckers capable of just throwing a revolution? Let's learn from the French Revolution. Let's remove all the people who we would say let them eat cake. Just remove them.
It's an odd view of disarmament.
Yeah, I mean, it might just be they're not saving shit. They're just we don't fucking need these people. We can all live on.
That's clearly their argument.
Yeah.
Listen to Yuval Harari speak. Listen to Klaus Schwab speak. Listen to Bill Gates speak, and it's all right there. That's what they think.
I did not like Harari's books. I did not like them I thought they were just poorly constructed, but the recent shit come out of his mouth is just terrifyingly bizarre.
Yeah.
Right. It's not that I necessarily believe he can do what he wants to do, but it's just twisted to think that this famous author believes the stuff that he says.
Well, it's like when you read like Mengele's like journals, and he's
Right.
like, he's like, the Jew is a lot like us. They have like opposable thumbs, they have working eyes, and you're like, oh, this guy, he was a true believer. And then you go,
Yeah.
oh, it's very easy to write them off. Oh, they're just evil. They want to kill. And then you talk to them, and you see the eyes gloss over, and they're like, yeah, no, they're just parasites. And if we remove them, you're like, oh, Christ in heaven.
Hold on. It's a good thing that I live in a concealed carry state that I can just like shoot that guy now.
Yes.
Because when you are confronted with evil that total,
depraved, yeah,
that total, that they just speak impersonally about getting rid of hundreds of millions of people, like
it's a lost cause.
Yeah, well, no, that's like casus belli at a personal level. I mean, this person is truly, especially if they have any power whatsoever.
That's what I mean. It's not like
I mean, I think that it's funny. Like, I used to say, I've said many times, like if I could fight one person in history, I'd fight Milton Friedman. Why? Why? Do you guys know why?
Because
he was the fake fucking libertarian. He's the fake Austrian.
Right. He was absolutely fake Austrian. He was absolutely a fake Austrian.
Absolutely. He was a Keynesian through and through. And so I'd fight that guy. But you know something? The more I think about it, the more I'd want to fight like Sartre. Not that it would be much of a fight, mind you, because that little fucking prick. I take him out in no time flat. But if you really go through and you look at all those French nihilists and all those French postmodernists, they have created the intellectual background for what we're dealing with today. We're not even dealing with like Marxism anymore.
Yeah,
we're far beyond. Like,
it's a new animal.
Marx is a pogue compared to these fucking people. He's a fucking tourist compared to these people.
I think. Sorry.
No, go ahead. That's it. I mean, we just need to get rid of the French postmodernists.
I was just thinking, like, if I could see the butterfly effect of one thing, I think it would be interesting to see what would happen if Truman had just given MacArthur the 50 A bombs he wanted.
Or allowed Patton to go into the Soviet Union.
I wonder what would have happened. Yeah, what would have happened if you had just really taken the leash off the dogs of war? Maybe it'd be horrible. I don't know. Maybe we'd be.
I think it would actually be the wrong choice. I think at the end of the day, like, I think the bigger issue, I don't know. I mean, like, Comintern officially ended in 1947, but not in my mind.
Well, I mean, they were debating up till 48. I think if we should just they were Annie Jacobson talks about it in her book, The Pentagon's Brain, DARPA.
Right.
Up until 1948, there was like public debate about us just nuking Moscow from border to border, so that they couldn't get the A-bomb, and then preemptively nuking anyone else that ever started to, and just establishing global hegemony for eternity. And they opted out again, and they opted against it. And then 1949, Lavrent Beria, the head of the KGB, got them to get the bomb, and then that decision was off the table.
What I'm trying to figure out is why and how in 1948 the Brits and the Europeans lost control of our political system. Because they're the ones that this is so clearly a British/European colonialist model. Listen to what you just said, and now talk to me about Davos.
Well, I know, and when you say it out loud, you go, "It's the same thing." Well, if we just remove everybody else, we could have. It's always, if we just do a little bit of evil, then we can have utopia. That's always the thing that drives to just mass genocide.
Well, they stay. I mean, remember remember. Come on, we're all old enough to remember. I don't know. I mean, I know I'm old enough to remember arguing with shitbags in high school and college about, they didn't really practice communism, dude. Like, come on, everybody had actually implemented real communism, it'd all have worked. I'm like, oh, you're one of those. Listen to
So in
Bernie
high
Sanders talk.
school, I just remember trying to get around the bases, scoring an ounce of pot and doing sports and stuff like that. So I don't know what you guys were doing in high school.
I was,
Neil Ferguson, by the way, did a counterfactual, which is what we see. We seem to be in the counterfactual part of the competition now, and in which he said it would have been better off if Germany had won World War One. No, and right away it clicked. It made a lot of sense to me because then it wouldn't have set up World War II, which is when the real shit hit the fan.
Yep.
World War One would have been quicker.
Yep.
And one of the interesting things is if you go back and you look at who loses wars, and you ask how are they doing now, they always seem to be doing better than the winners. I'm not quite sure how that works, but
because all of these wars are banker wars. All of these wars are oligarch wars where they get proxies to fight for them.
right.
Like, let's not kid ourselves. Europe 2 times got themselves involved in a friggin' war against the Russians or against the Germans or whoever they had previously bankrolled,
Right.
and then got us to fight their war for them.
We're
While they
working
flew
on
all their
number
capital
3.
over here to pay for the war machine, where they all got richer. And then after the war was over, they moved all the capital out of the United States back over to Europe to keep, and they're doing the same thing now.
That's right. Number 3 is coming up.
Davos is the same playbook. Same playbook.
have you ever
So
read,
this time we have to say no.
have you ever read The Creature from Jekyll Island by
Oh,
G.
yeah.
Edward
I
Griffin?
haven't, but I've had it I've had it told me.
Yeah, no,
told
it's
me
it's
how to
just
find it.
it's the Fed is evil, blah blah blah. But I like his very ending. And he
Mhm.
said the purpose of wars is to perpetually to waste tons of human energy,
Yes.
the fruits of our labor, to create weapons and then destroy them, have them destroy each other. It's basically to remove the cream of the crop. You take everyone's efforts, resources, things we've mined and smelted and melted and designed, and you have the smartest brains working on engineering these things, and you create them all, and then they annihilate each other like antimatter. And the purpose of the war is just to constantly remove human ingenuity and advancement, so that we're always perpetuating this just system of everyone has to keep working towards utopia. We're never going to get there. We're purposely we're getting all the crops and then we're just throwing them in an incinerator.
I'm not
it's
sure that might be the outcome. I'm not sure it's the purpose.
Mm.
I would make that distinction. Also, what you describe as modern war, I'm not sure that the wars of previous centuries are that way, and I have no idea what the future wars are going to be. I do think we've reached a point. I am now convinced that our Pentagon and our military industrial complex is preparing for the wrong war. I'm convinced of that, and I think we're going to get slaughtered by. It's going to be war of the worlds, and we're going to be stomping around the planet. This is how microbes going to take us out, right?
Oh yeah.
No mention of COVID, of course, but that sort of thing. I think we're going to discover we've created there's a great book. Who's the guy? Not Perrin, he's Roman. Who's the guy who wrote about the collapse of complex societies? Who wrote that? Come on, damn. I had a few conversations with him. The Collapse of Complex Societies. It's a great book. What the fuck is his name?
Well, while you're talking about that, I'll just bring in the idea that we're watching the collapse of Keiretsu and just-in-time manufacturing in real time. When Dave finds that,
absolutely.
Absolutely.
What free market capitalism, if you want to call it that, did was they replaced costly safeguards with extremely dangerous short time scales.
Yeah.
No, and in a world where you don't have rapacious oligarchs, then weaponizing everything, and
Joseph Tainer, Collapse of Complex Societies is a very good read.
Excellent, thank you, Dave. What we're going to say is that there's nothing wrong with just-in-time manufacturing in times of peace and everything else. When you don't have a rapacious oligarch class, then looking at that as an opportunity to collapse supply chains to destroy people's lives. They've used this. They what's the word I'm looking for? Not engendered, but subsidized and fostered this, right? Allowed this to happen. We ran with it. And now you're looking at how easy it is for it to become
just-
any of these supply chains become a single point of failure to take out the entirety of the division of labor. We have a very sophisticated division of labor pre-March of 1920 pre-March of 2020. And now we're having a collapsing division of labor because of collapsing supply chains, which is what's raising Russia's profile as a base commodity producer. Because as the division of labor collapses, right, then commodities rise in value relative to what you can use those base commodities to build, right? Because there's always more profit. The more you go up the structure of production from base commodities, second order goods, third order, fourth order, 12th order, 15th order goods, as the supply chains necessary to keep the 15th order goods, which is where all the profit is, running, that collapses, we're back down 8th order goods or 7th order goods or 5th order goods, which makes the relative value, the input cost of commodities worth that much more. Now you add the collapse of the credit cycle and the collapse of Exeter's pyramid, and it all makes perfect sense as to why the West, which is all built on credit and funny money and moving derivatives around and drinking each other's milkshakes, is losing to the guy who has all the fucking commodities. It makes perfect sense. And I can't believe they didn't understand this. And this isn't even an Austrian argument. This is literally basic supply and demand. This is economic. This is divorced from any kind of economic orthodoxy that's built on top of it. This is just basic everyday law of diminishing marginal utility, law of supply and demand. This is not hard.
Well, except for I think our model was based on the idea that we could go take their commodities when we wanted them.
Yes. Yeah.
And now the question is, can we do that? And it's not at all clear that.
I don't think it's not. I don't think it's not clear, Dave. I think the question has been answered, and our politicians haven't gotten the memo yet because they're just smart enough to run the consent manufacturing production line, but not smart enough to know when to how to tweak it and make it work better. Like they're running a production line. These are all 105 IQ midwits. Ursula von der Leyen, Charles Michel, Boris Johnson, Joe Biden, maybe not Barack Obama, but the rest of them. They're all 105 IQ midwits. Jacinda Ardern, Justin Trudeau, the rest of them. They're very good order takers, but they don't know how to improvise in real time. They know how to run a plan. They're good middle managers. They're perfect middle managers. And that's why that's why we are where we are. That's why it's so easy for Putin to run rings around.
Speaking of World War I, this is a hoodie I made last summer. And it's Gavrilo Princip assassinating. And when I wear it and people ask why, and I just say, well, it's the most influential guy, really, I guess, in history. I mean, he pushed a domino.
So it turns out that if you read Ben Steele's, no, it wasn't Ben Steele. Ben Steele suggested it to me. If you read Europe's Last Summer, they very much downplay the importance of that Archduke shooting.
Yeah, well, they say it was going to all happen anyway.
Well, no, but they also say that everyone hated the Archduke, and that the Austrians had to get pushed into getting pissed, and Germany finally said, "Look, when are you guys going to get mad or whatever, you know?" And so the Archduke was an expendable character. It's like, oh yeah, so someone shot him. Who the fuck cares? And as a consequence of that, we seem to have a friend who's trying to find a better seat in the conversation.
No, come on in, man.
Yeah. This is not the one who snored during my QTR podcast that Chris kept getting mad at. He says, "Your dog's fucking snoring," and the comment section said, "Let the dog snore."
Yeah, fuck that. Dude, dogs are always joining the podcast. I don't give a shit. Fuck anybody that says otherwise.
There's nobody in the park, and Amazon has already delivered packages. So Kamina's out. My guardian dog's now barking right now. She's just going, God damn, it's hot.
Have you guys heard of one theory I like? Have you ever heard of the theory of the breakaway civilization? And it's not that term can get co-opted by like the worst of the worst conspiracies. They're like, it's all lizards.
Give me a thumbnail. I'll tell you if I've heard about it as a description, not as a name. The name's not ringing a bell.
What's the
Yeah,
idea?
the name's not ringing a bell either.
Well, it's the idea that just like we see with just like we see in evolution, just like we see now with capital, the top 0.001% have X amount. It's the idea that the very tippy top have been under the guise of things like DoD black budgets and using the Cold War, proxy armies fighting against each other in order to accelerate technology, because the Cold War accelerated the average technology eons faster than it would have. Is the idea that all these things, like when we can't account for $1 trillion, or there's an 08 Fed bailout or a COVID bailout, what we're really doing is we're siphoning off an extraordinary percentage of money, not even for like weapon systems we see like the B-2 Spirit or something, but rather, I mean, the truly elite, who knows, maybe under 1,000 people of a breakaway civilization of technology to truly get off the planet and actually be able to go, I don't know, inhabit Mars or something. The idea is that
I think that's a preposterous theory.
I love it.
Well, no, I just don't think. I think the logistics of when you get there, it's talk about having a tough time running society.
Yeah,
Mars is not going to be a friendly place for this.
No,
and so I think. I don't see why would you ever want to go to Mars? I mean, and live in Mars, but beyond just the human achievement
or anything else. Like,
yeah. I can't imagine. I watched the sci-fi last night about going to some moon off Jupiter, and I like the dystopian movies for obvious reasons. And I go, who wants to live like that? So yeah. I don't think those models make sense.
It's the same as them digging vast tunnels. And in order to have to have their life underground, and then they realize life underground kind of sucks.
Yeah,
kind of sucks, right?
Gets a little moldy down there, doesn't it?
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, there's so many bad ideas about that. Now, I don't want to go off on too far of a tangent here, but you start getting into the 12,000 year disaster cycle. Mm-hmm. We're talking about the every 12,000 years the sun burps and wipes out most of humanity.
Yeah.
Right. Which is documented in the geologic record and everything else. And you start looking at things like the pyramids and go back to Tepe and I always say it wrong. Go back to Tepe and all the other and all that stuff. You get into the Randall Carlson stuff. You get into all that, and you're like. We're ready. They may actually be prepping for the right disaster while they tell us it's, they prep us for the wrong one and we're all the ones doing it wrong. Like, and I can't tell you how many times Dave, you mentioned on Twitter before we started, you want to get some prepper updates. Well, the prepper update for me is I decided that, if the 12,000 year disaster cycle happens and the crust jerks and the poles flip and the crust jerks,
you want to have some
and the 6,000 foot high tidal wave comes, got news for you. I'm not going to be in the Cumberland Plateau up in Tennessee in my hobbit hole that I dug out of the side of a mountain.
Yeah.
I'm going to be here in Florida. I'm going to die. I'm going to be sitting on my front porch waiting for it to come in with a cigar in one hand and a whiskey in the other.
It's like, don't look up.
Like, don't look up at that point.
No,
exactly.
It was a brilliant movie.
What the situation is.
It was a brilliant movie. It was a brilliant movie. It was absolutely a brilliant movie.
But that's always been my sort of like, when I first started listening to like Randall Carlson and Graham Hancock, I've always thought, I'm like, my prepper plan is no, Dave, you hit it. It's like a bottle of like clonazepam and like a fentanyl shot. Like, what are you talking about? Like, no, we're going to rebuild society. It's going to be barbaric.
I'd actually get
and as I said to Tom in our last podcast, I said, I don't look good in a purple mohawk.
Yeah, true. But it's like, I think they're like, it's going to be Mad Max, but power's going to be redistributed. And it's going to be a new world. Go fuck yourself, dude. I have problems. I bitch and complain about the hyper advanced 2022 world we live in, where I'm doing this podcast on an iMac and I'm going to take my car and go get my just-in-time food tonight because I'd rather keep no food in my apartment. So I have the luxury of burning fat, where most humans throughout all of history want fat. I don't do it when the air conditioning goes out. Podcasts are canceled. Like, I am living on the cusp of human technology and advancement. The idea that we're just going to become hunter-gatherers, God bless. Have fun.
Yeah, but Mother Nature and history show, however, that you don't let go as fast as you think you would.
I know. I'd start crying and
no. But
and,
if you look at people and you sit there and you go, why would you cling to this existence, right?
yeah,
Why wouldn't you just go to the light? And it's in our DNA, right?
it is.
Yeah.
No, it is.
We try to survive.
Yeah. No, it is.
It's funny. Yeah, I make fun of it, but my wife and I were talking about this yesterday. It's been beastly hot, even for North Florida, the last few weeks, last week and a half or so, punctuated by a little bit of rain here or there to cool things off and allow the grass and of course then to turn everything into a sauna. That's good as long as it rains every couple of days and the grass grows and the goats don't start. But I tell you, like Florida is fucking inhospitable with air conditioning. Like it is truly inhospitable. And how anybody lived here before air conditioning, I don't know. And they're made of sterner stuff than me, man. Because I'll be one of the zombies like trekking north.
I interviewed.
If I don't die on the fucking Trail of Tears between here and Hotlanta, like I don't know.
So I live in a house that has plate glass windows.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
I think I showed Tom
Very
that,
nice.
right? I mean, that's utopian.
I like
But
it.
the problem, the guy who built it, former dean of our business school, built it, and he didn't put in air conditioning. So when the sun comes over the horizon, all of a sudden you're running from it like a vampire.
Yeah.
And I don't know how he lived in this house without AC. The neighbors built their house like 2 years later. They were buddies. He too was the dean of the business school at some point. And they didn't put in AC either. And I'm thinking after one summer, I would have said to my buddy, oh, by the way, put in AC. So
I grew up in a house. I grew up in a house because you're up in Ithaca, right?
Right.
Right around Ithaca. I grew up in the Hudson Valley and around Harriman,
Right.
Monroe, that area, right? My house didn't have air conditioning. My mother wouldn't get air conditioning because she had lung problems and the forced, and apparently she thought the forced air was bad for her or whatever. So thankfully, I lived in a classic kind of suburban 2-level, what we call the bi-level, where the downstairs was half submerged in the ground. So, you know, and the windows.
I used to
at
sleep in the basement.
So we could actually hang out in the basement in the summertime
right.
where it wasn't 100 degrees in the summer, because you know summers in the Hudson Valley were midnight. I mean, that was only for a month or so, or a month or two. It was, you know, it would get up in the 90s with 85 to 95% humidity. I then voluntarily moved to a place where it's like that 7 months out of the year.
Did that house?
Then again, there aren't humans here, so that makes me happy.
Did that house have window wells?
Window wells?
Window wells are where you have like windows in your basement, like they're cut
Yes.
out in the basement so that like the basement rooms get sunlight.
Yeah, no, they were. Yeah, so the windows were kind of standard small windows at head height, right? And the rest of that and so it was. But that house was. I don't know how we lived, but I had to sleep upstairs in my bedroom. Well, in the summertime, I wound up sleeping downstairs. But yeah, like I've been here where there's no air conditioning in the summer in Florida for 7 days. I think I've told this story before. I don't know if I told it to you two guys, but the first summer when we built this house in 2003, that summer, in 2004, hurricane came through, wiped out Stewart, came across the state, turned over my house for 24 hours, dumping 20 inches of rain and more over my house, and then shot back east and took out South Carolina. Turned and strengthened over my house, and then moved back out to South Carolina and wiped out, Cape Hatteras. We were without power for 7 days. I didn't sleep for 6 days, like other than that half sleep you get for an hour and a half here or there, where you're like, I'm not asleep, and it's 100 degrees. There's no power. The air is still. It's literally living in a sauna. And I went to work on day 7 at the University of Florida when it finally opened back up again, to go to my office and sleep in my chair.
Fuck yeah.
I still took a day off from work. It was still a holiday. I still took a vacation day. People would come into the lab like, Tom, I need this. I am not here. Fuck off. I'm at home. Leave me alone. I am enjoying the blessed. I felt like Jason Lee in Dogma. No sin greater than forced air, than air conditioning or whatever the hell it is,
I lived in a frat house in Valdosta, Georgia, August 2010. No air conditioning.
Valdosta is almost hotter than where I am.
That was me and my roommate, we were one of a couple guys there. We shared a bathroom, and we had the shower that didn't have hot water, but it didn't matter. And we would just
No, it
like
didn't
every
matter.
hour we just kind of take, because you're just laying in your room naked. And of course we're like, this is gay. So like, we'd keep the bathroom doors closed. And we would just, we'd just be laying on our bed, mattresses on the floor to get through the
Yep.
coals, fans on, just laying there. And then you'd hear it every 30 minutes. One of us would get up, you go step in the shower, not even a curtain on the shower. And you just turn on the water and just sit there until you start shaking. And then you brush it all off and you go lay down and you're good. And then like 30 minutes later, your core starts to rise and you just do that nonstop till it started to get cold.
No, I
Retarded.
took many an alcohol bath that week where you're just like, because the evaporation at the very least, because you can't, because it's so humid, you can't even you sweat and it doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
All you do is soak your shirt. I was running out of salt. It was, awful. And I sweat badly to start out with. Like, you can shake my hand when I start to sweat. I'm just terrible about it. So it's amazing, actually, though, how much better I've gotten at handling the heat, because now I spend enough time during the day, even out of the sun. I mean, it's 90 plus degrees on my porch where I'm sitting right here, right now, but I'm actually not terribly uncomfortable. I've gotten used to it. You can get used to anything, but I can't get used to, but there's no way you can be out in the sun in this shit during the day. I don't know how anybody does it. I don't know how these, like the guys who came over the other day to do the yard work on my house, because I can't be fucking arsed to do this shit anymore. Like, I don't know how they did it with the weed whacker and running the weed whacker for 4 hours in the fucking Florida heat. I'm like, dude, you're made of certain stuff to me. You're gonna survive the shit I am.
Yeah.
Like, I'm done.
Yeah. I always walk out and bring ice water whenever I see like the Mexican guys outside doing the lawn of the apartment. I always walk out. And I'm just like, I like walk up to them and they always kind of like back away from me because I'm just like beelining towards them like some weird like cult member. And then I just like I'll have like a hoodie and I'll just start like pulling out ice bottles. Like, see. And I'm like, please take it. But yeah, I don't know if it's not let's go all the way back. If it's not resource scarcity, is it anything? Is there no one in charge? Are we
like a starling murmuration, right? Which starling is leading the pack? None of them, right? It could be. It's
right.
When the fungus moves up your shower curtain, it's not like it's doing it with brains.
Yeah.
Right. So
are we watching it? Are we projecting our own need for order and patterns? Is it nothing? Is it just?
I like to believe that. I've gone back and forth about. I think it's people using opportunities. They see opportunities and they take them. And to, enact plans, and then those plans fail in real time, because all plans fail in real time, because no plan, there's no battle plan
with the enemy. Yeah.
Survives contact with the enemy. And then, they react in real time. And talking about the people who are enacting these plans, as I said earlier, they're a bunch of IQ 105 midwits. They don't have any ability to improvise in real time. And so, Klaus Schwab isn't nearly as smart as he thinks he is.
No,
he's not nearly as smart as the three people on this podcast, on any one of us, no less the collective intelligence of the three of us. And no matter what certified smart people he puts around him. And I wouldn't doubt for a minute that Yuval Harari is a very smart guy, on the IQ test. I also think that, that he's easily countered, because he's not that smart. Because you may be the smartest guy in the room, but you're not smarter than the room.
True.
Wisdom of crowds.
Yeah, absolutely. We're a far better neural network computer of prices and incentives and reactions and actions and reactions than these people will ever be. They're reacting to data. I mean, this in raw terms, they're reacting to data in with a massive lag, even if they could map it all in real time.
Yeah.
People are like electrons. They don't like being observed, because when they're observed, then they do the wrong. You can either know how fast they're going or where they are, but you can't know both.
It's like when you're driving on the highway just fine, not thinking about anything, and all of a sudden you see a cop car behind you and you fucking forget how to drive. And you're like, am I going too fast? Am I going too slow? Do I look shit-faced? And like reality is like, cop's not paying attention to you. He's fucking jerking off and driving around and not looking at you.
You're not give a shit about you. Right.
Speaking of cops, Dave, I want to hear your thoughts. What do you think Uvalde was? And so as not to fucking get Alex Jones rabbit holed and start questioning school shootings, I
can't answer that question without going down that rabbit hole.
All right, well, let's go down the rabbit hole because it seems very, very fucking odd that they sat outside for 77 minutes and now there's cameras. There's now frames released of them because they lied and said that they tried to get in with the janitor's key. And now it's coming out that they were in there an hour prior with ballistic shields. What in the fuck is going on?
So the simple arguments that I might have told Tom this, might have told Tommy this too. I was on a bunch of Zoom calls with an NSA guy and he said, don't name a specific name because then people could say, oh, okay, Bill Gates is evil. Now I get to stop thinking. Right.
Okay.
And so that's important not to come up with a simple explanation.
Okay.
That then allows you to say, okay, my work here is done. Right.
Mhm.
What I can tell you is everything I know about human nature says, and everything I know about cops, some percentage of those cops had to be ex-military. Right. I don't know what percentage, but it's not zero.
Probably.
Almost all those cops probably had kids. And so it's not just how do you explain it? It's just, I find it impossible to, it's like if someone said, I flew to Mars by flapping my arms, I go, okay, right. I don't believe that one of the standard answers is they're cowards. I don't believe it.
Yeah.
I think no one's a coward when they get put in that situation in the sense that, you find your inner self somehow. Right now, maybe not all of them, but there were something like 20 of them.
But at least one.
At least one, and then others would have followed. Right. So I don't think you could be standing in the school hearing the gunshots. It is beyond my most vivid imagination that there wouldn't be a single guy who wouldn't just say, fuck it, I'm going. Period.
Yeah.
I would say 18
Fuck
out
you
of
all.
20. 18 out of 20 independently would have done it.
Fire
in my
me.
opinion.
I'm going in.
Yeah.
Fire me, I'm going in. And they say,
Shoot me.
I wouldn't need a goddamn bullet shield. If I had a pocket knife on me, I'd like to think I'd go in and at least try to go, put it in the guy's neck or something, right? You would certainly not be standing at the far end of the school with the shots off in the distance firing away. You'd be at the door. There's just so many. So the whole thing looks wrong.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how wrong and why. I don't have a good view. There's the woman who ran the school, got her own kids out, that why they wouldn't be doing that. Anyone knows there's a shooter in the school. 3/4 of the school could be evacuated in a heartbeat because he can't cover the whole school, right?
Right.
And so there's just nothing about this story that makes sense. And so the question is, what is it? And first and foremost, I think somehow someone's duping us.
Sure. That's nothing else passes the smell test.
And so then it gets to the question, and I haven't done this, and you get in trouble for even considering doing this, but I haven't checked all the names of all the kids to see if they're real. This gets back to the Sandy Hook. How do you get fired fast?
Sure.
You say Sandy Hook was fake.
Sure.
Right.
But this thing is just dead. Sandy Hook was nowhere near as fake looking as this thing to me.
Right.
Because I don't believe you could take 20 cops and have them. I don't believe the parents wouldn't just rush the fucking school. There's just the parents were being held back. I get that part. But the cops, 60 minutes of gunfire.
77.
Whatever, an hour. And they're just standing there. And now, if it really is a legitimate story, then it shows you how ossified the entire police establishment has become. But I don't even buy that model. That's too simple. That's one of those simple ones you say, okay, now we're done. We have to de-ossify.
I know too many cops, Dave. I know too many cops.
I know too many men.
Yeah, well, that too. But I know too many cops who are good men.
Right.
That would not have done this. And
even if they knew they were going to die, that's
yeah. That's part. That's part of what they signed up for, and they knew that when they went to the police academy.
But you could take 10 guys out of you could take 20 teachers, male teachers, if they had weapons on them, they'd be going in there. And so,
right.
so there's this maxim that says, circumstance doesn't create heroes, it reveals them.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Conflict
I also
doesn't
think
create character, it reveals it. It's first rule of
Right.
screenwriting.
And I think the average guy has the character to go in there and do it. I think the average guy has the character to do it. They
Mhm.
sure as hell wouldn't have been standing there as a group twiddling their thumbs. So I don't.
No. And certainly you get 3 or 4 of them together who, even if they individually don't have the character,
Yeah.
they're going
Right.
to make each other
And
stronger.
as you said, the
right, they're all
chief
gonna-
of police could be standing there, and one guy's going to say, "I don't care. I'm going in." You can stand here and explain to the fucking press why you didn't go in.
I mean, we saw it on 9/11. How many firefighters looked up a
Right.
quarter of a mile and said,
I'm
"We're
going up.
going. I know I'm not coming
Right.
down."
Right. Well, they didn't know they were not coming down, but they sure as hell went up
not
without
just the
hesitating.
firefighters, the cops,
the police, the
emergency
EMTs,
services.
the
I have
priests.
You got it.
my,
You got it.
my cousin was ex NYPD emergency services.
The office
lost
worker.
friends.
The office
Did
worker.
you
on
see,
the-
by
on
the way,
9/11.
quick divert. Did you see the documentary, The Great Manhattan Boat Lift?
No, but I know about it. Yeah, no, it's
Write it down.
No,
Write
no,
it down.
yeah, I know about it.
Listeners, you gotta watch it. It's an amazingly cool story. And there might be,
All the civilian boats that
glamorized.
took people out
Oh,
of
it was just a
Manhattan.
spontaneous response to 9/11.
But even there,
It's-
but even that
it's-
is a perfect example.
Exactly.
People stepping up.
Exactly. The guy just said, "I'm turning my boat around. I'm going to fucking Manhattan because they need me. They need me now." Right? These are
It's the
just
same. Well, we see it here in the South. We have the Cajun Navy.
the
guys
Cajun
know-
Navy. I've written about the Cajun Navy.
Yeah, so have I. I mean, so have I. The Cajun Navy, like I know
Fuck it. We're not
people-
waiting for FEMA. We're not waiting
No.
for FEMA.
I can tell you that I was at Libertarian Party conventions, state conventions in Florida. I know people who were members of the Cajun Navy who organized food and water drops and everything else, and were actively subverting both the Coast Guard and running smuggling past the Coast Guard, FEMA, and the
That's right.
FBI and the cops to get supplies and get people in and out of New Orleans during after Katrina. Like, this is the shit.
And then the Cajun Navy came out in spades when Houston got hit about a year later.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
We just saw last summer how many
And
ex-military
these guys in their fucking bass boats, they didn't even think about it. They just go.
Right. Yeah.
many-
Instinct.
how many
Instinct.
ex-military guys last summer went across the fucking world to Kabul
Right.
in the direct face of the State Department?
So then the question, and they weren't working on adrenaline. These guys should have been working on adrenaline.
Oh, I know.
I could go, by the way, silent because we got a storm coming in and I could lose internet.
You're
So if
good.
I go, it's so
It's
it
because you hate
doesn't
us,
make
we know.
sense. It
It's-
does. Yeah. Well, that too.
Big convenient storm when Uvalde comes up, Dave.
Yeah, I know.
Very convenient
I know.
thunderclouds.
Well, I think I've already blown it.
Yeah.
So I think it's the ship has sailed. So then the question is, what is it?
Hi, puppy. Yeah, no, so that's what I did is like, so let's zoom out and just look at what it is. It doesn't make sense as devil's advocate now. It doesn't make sense as a false flag because you go, what do all the shootings always, what are they supposed to be? Reasons for disarmament, right? It makes sense. A tyrannical government wants to
Or
seize power.
reasons to fight.
Okay, yeah, and that's the second one is, so what does this show? All this showed from just a black and white 100,000-foot view is you can't count on the cops. Means that you have to be armed.
Absolutely.
Or
Right.
it's to make you hate the cops. This would be like 4D chess, gets you to back the idea of disarming or defunding the cops, which causes chaos, and then we beg for the federal government to come in with a federal police force. But I don't think they're that smart.
It's absolutely that. Oh, so I was watching Escape from New York the other night with my with a friend of mine. Speaking of the
darkness
cops,
on this podcast, right?
what's that?
The darkness on this podcast just keeps oozing
It
out.
just
of
keeps
the
getting
screen.
better, right?
We're just
So
pull
so,
up,
so,
pull
so,
up, terrain. We're just going straight down.
yeah, I was going straight down the rabbit hole, right? So I was watching Escape from New York for the 30th or 40th time the other night, but the friend of mine hadn't ever seen it. So I sat him down to watch that. I gave him the choice of that or Zack Snyder's Sucker Punch, and he chose that. And by the way, Sucker Punch is a great movie. And for completely opposite reasons. But I'm just sitting here watching. I said, everybody, did anybody notice how in 1981, John Carpenter nailed the look of the future of policing in Europe and the United States?
I'm vaguely remembering the movie, so.
Go watch
Okay.
Escape from New York again, and just go watch the United States. Go listen, find clips on
Where'd
YouTube.
you watch it on, by the way? Where'd you watch
Oh,
it
I
on?
own that fucking thing on Blu-ray. Are you kidding me?
Okay, so you have
Dude,
it
I have
on
the Shout
screens
Factory
around
edition.
your house. You have
I
the
have this-
screens
I have
around your
this-
house playing it. Okay.
Now, I have the Shout Factory edition with, like, I'm gonna know, dude. The Thing, all the great John Carpenter movies. I have all four. I have them all. They Live, Big Trouble in Little China, The Thing.
The thing,
I-
the thing.
There's a comedian, Ray Kump, who made a great point about They Live. He goes, isn't that funny? The second you realize the whole thing's rigged, your first instinct is to go into your local bank with a shotgun. None of it's real.
Yeah, well, no, it's the same. It's the same thing. Like, Escape from New York is so fucking prescient in so many ways. The only thing it got wrong was the date.
Yeah. Yeah.
1997.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, it's like, yeah, no, it's good stuff. Like, so many things about that. And, like, if you haven't watched that movie,
So what do you think it is? What do
What
do
is
you
the big
think that-
picture of it? Is
What's the Uvalde story? Because I have not.
Disarmament doesn't seem to make sense.
I'm gonna default to it's an operation.
I
But
think
why?
I think
why?
Because we are at that moment where they're accelerating every issue to try and rapidly destroy what's left of the social cohesion of the United States. They have to. Okay, one of the things that Davos is really worried about right now is a sovereign debt crisis in Europe. Let's back up to the 50,000-foot level. What are they most? What keeps everybody in Europe who has any power or any money up at night? A sovereign debt crisis in Europe and all the capital fleeing.
Mm-hmm.
A collapse of the banking system, rising interest rates, rising inflation, a loss of political legitimacy. How do you keep capital from fleeing into the United States? Well, you project to the world that the United States is on the verge of civil war.
Yeah.
It's politically, it's a mess. This is all a BBC, Sky News, fucking international news psyop. The Russians are helping. The Chinese are helping. The Brits want it done this way. Europe wants it. Everybody who would want to portray and that there's something wrong with the U.S. who would amplify that and go out of their way to create moments where they can amplify those things, especially in a year where the Democrats are going to get wiped out in the election, in the midterms, because the last thing they want is for a strong dollar and for any kind of political unity to start to coalesce in the United States, especially if I'm right about the Federal Reserve and the commercial banking sector saying, look, you know what? Fuck you. I'm not turning the keys of the candy store over to a bunch of German eugenicists and kid fuckers. I ain't doing it. Like, when back to the Jordan Belfort, Gordon Gekko thing. Like, yeah, we're fucking depraved, but at least we like girls. And at least we like adult girls.
With pubic hair. With pubic hair.
At
Yeah.
least we like women,
not prepubescent kids. Right. This is the thing. Like,
I'm not sure
those
that's
guys
true for our leaders, though.
Look at those
I'm
people.
not sure it's true for our leaders. I'm not sure it's true for our leaders. The whole.
Our leaders are.
Yeah, right.
They're just a fucking lost cause. Those people.
So the other side,
all of it does make sense to me.
The other psyop that went very badly was the Vegas shootings, which you didn't hear mentioned because they were done so poorly.
Yes.
Well, that one doesn't. And if you wanted to disarm. Sorry to interrupt. If you wanted to disarm the public and ram through gun control, that's all you would ever show, and they never used that one.
It's the biggest killer since Civil War.
And no one ever. That would never get. It happened under Orange Man. Like, you'd think they'd love it.
No. The problem is they blew it so badly that they've got to keep it from getting talked about. So for the reader, I wrote about it. I thought I did the best write up on it. And sometime just recently, one, maybe two documentaries came out. I could have been watching the same documentary and didn't know it. They talked about it. I only got about 10% of the story. I mean, it's a messed up story. It is messed up from head to toe. This is one of these things where you go, that no sane person could watch this and say, and I like this one little tiny nugget. The little tiny nugget is a CBS News article that said his hard drive for his laptop was missing. And I'm going, and what I said was usual columnist way. I said, "Oh, don't you hate it when you do that?" Right? And And then they said, but this is not that weird. They mentioned about 5 major shootings. They said their hard drives are missing too. And I go, and we're supposed to feel better about this? That all the shooters' hard drives are disappearing? And so the bottom line with the Vegas shooting is they blew it horrifically. And they killed so many people. They shot so many people, but they left so many footprints. I think they've gotten sloppy in that I think they used to put in, like, take, for example, a Kennedy shooting or something. I think they tried to dot the I's and cross the T's. I get this feeling now that they just say, look, we'll clean it up in the media.
The Kennedy assassination was a book report you actually put the work into. You read the book,
Right.
You had a rough draft, you had the teacher run it over. Uvalde, Vegas, that's you wake up at 5 a.m. and you're like,
So someone had to have told
she's like, fight the fucking fight. Yeah.
Someone had to have told the cops.
Why
you can't
Uvalde,
go in.
Texas? Because Matthew McConaughey is from Uvalde, Texas.
I think that's probably something in the post they used. I don't know.
I would say if they have to pick one, no, because they would have picked the town years ago. Just like
the story,
just like they picked Broward County for the Florida one, whatever. I can't remember the name of the school, right?
You know, the story behind Uvalde, which I went back and I found it and I double checked it, is that 4 years ago, 2 8th graders were arrested for scheming to create a mass killing their senior year.
Wasn't Uvalde also involved with some weird DARPA AI program for tracking potential school shooters?
I don't know about that, but
I'll look that up right now.
How about this, Tommy? Wouldn't surprise me in the fucking least.
Sorry to interrupt you.
That's the problem. That's the problem. The other problem is that once you've gone down one of these rabbit holes and found the monster, right? Once you find one, you say, look, I can't get around this, whether it's Pearl Harbor or whether it's Kennedy, whether it's 9/11, no matter what. Once you found one, you realize you cannot summarily dismiss anything.
Yeah.
No.
Uvalde School District was involved in a DARPA AI program that monitored social media aimed at students to identify threats.
Oh, so this was a cleanup operation then of all the kids that were in that program.
Maybe.
Never let an opportunity go to waste. Hey, we can create a mass shooting at the same time and ramp their gun control.
You can't fucking make that up.
It's like the twofer.
Like what happened? Well, they sat outside for 77 minutes. Well, that's weird. And they were like arresting parents that tried to go in. That's even weirder. Well, they said the janitor's keys didn't let them get inside. Well, no, actually, security camera footage now shows that they actually
The door was fucking open
with ballistic shields. Well, that's weird too. Well, what else happened? Well, hear me out. Sit down.
The idea
with a DARPA AI predictor.
If someone had told me that there was a shooting and that they waited to get in the building for the key, I would have said, you're lying.
Yeah, shoot the fucking door open.
Kick it.
You have
smash
guns.
a window.
Like that, you have to get battering rams. Like you can batter down the fucking door of
How'd the shooter get in?
What
door did the shooter use?
And then there's a story about the teacher who propped the door, and then they had footage showing she didn't prop the door, and there's all sorts of crazy. So this is another one of these things where I think it's going to go away because the messes are too sloppy.
I don't know.
And then the question is what's going on? And it's got to be, let's keep everyone fighting. Let's keep everything disoriented. It's got to be that. But the question is, how do you get 20 cops to stand there?
Yeah. And none of them have committed suicide, unlike the January 6th cops.
Yet.
Yeah.
It's too early. No, Tommy, wait, dude, you don't understand. It's too early. They will all they will all die of mysterious circumstances in about 3 months.
Do you remember how many people died of mysterious circumstances after the Vegas shootings?
A lot.
There's about 13 or something. 13 people out of 20,000 at the rock concert died for various, one's a car accident, one's this, one's that. You go 13? Really? I like to sit in football stadiums and sit there and look at the crowd, say, okay, how many people getting laid tonight out of this crowd? I like to think of statistics. Right? Who's going to die within a week, right? Dumbass things, just trying to think of statistics. What I can tell you is 13 out of 20,000 doesn't make sense.
No.
Right.
So then again.
So what was it?
Well, is it possible the footage of the cops wasn't even on that day?
Yeah.
Maybe.
right?
But if
It's
it
like,
wasn't, would you not have those cops coming out and going, "That's bullshit. That's not from today"? Because the cops
you
are
know,
getting heat.
Look,
And-
at the end of the day, the cops all have families.
Yeah. Yeah. How did they?
So guess what?
your
Cops
family's
are
gonna
really
die.
good at the code of silence if their families are, especially if their families are threatened.
Sure. Yeah, that's
Look,
not.
I'm the child of a cop. I know the code of silence. I've seen it in real time. I know very little, but my dad did as NYPD. Okay. And I know that
That gets to the 25. If 25 kids got murdered, that code of silence, I would think.
Yeah, I know. Now I agree with you, Dave. And I also know that, I also know that the average man in that position, but if their families
their
are under
families were
direct threat
threatened.
from the federal government, it's going to take a lot for that to come out. And let's be honest, and the reality is that in today's environment, any quote unquote whistleblower could easily be destroyed by the media.
Destroy without killing them.
Yeah, no, it's a matter of this is the thing. They nuts and sluts the matter of fucking existence. Okay, I mean, dead serious. Like this is, like as cynical as we like to think we are, we're not even close to the people who are actually doing this shit.
Yeah, and
Right.
you could kind of even give the cops their own mental peace, even if they didn't believe it. You would say, you threaten their family, and you'd say, this is for national security. And if you're a cop, you might be going, you might not even question why is it for national security. You might just go, fuck it, that's what I can tell my family, and that's why I'm staying silent, and that's why I can.
It's sort of like when Darth Vader sort of looks at you, you go, okay, I get it.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing is that these guys are like the amount of stress that they swallow, the amount of pain and hurt, and they all have a fundamental level some kind of PTSD.
Sure.
Right.
And
So they've already been brainwashed to some level. The point.
I mean, no, they're all guys gonna it's not even brainwashed. They're just like they already know how to live with this, and they also know how to not. Eventually, they will not be able to live with it.
Right.
And they will either drink themselves to death, smoke themselves to death, not seek any help because they're men. They won't seek psychological help. They won't even talk to anybody about it. Like that's the reality. And and it's a sad thing.
Death and despair.
It is what it is. And it's what we have to do. And talking about this is remind ourselves that that's the situation. Going to the bottom of the quote unquote conspiracy, I think that's a given. Obviously, there's enough questions here that anybody with 3 brain cells to rub together to make a spark knows that there's something fucking wrong about Uvalde. What I'm actually more worried about.
And if they hadn't paused for 77 minutes, this would be a standard shooting.
Right.
The 77 minutes. The 77 minutes. It's like the 18 minutes missing from Nixon's tapes or something.
Right.
The 77 minutes just is inexplainable by any. And everyone who hates cops just likes to say, "See how bad the cops are." I go, no, this is not it.
This is not about the cops. Now,
It's
and
not
you have
about
to
the
realize
cops.
that those men have been put in an impossible situation. Their families are going to, they themselves are going to spiral down. Their families are going to implode.
Even if we're wrong, even if we're dead wrong, and it just played out this badly,
Right.
based on just bad judgment, their lives are going to spiral downward.
Well, and I mean,
Yes.
if you're a cop and
Exactly.
you're going, they threatened my family. I mean, you probably don't have a hard time believing going, well, if the powers pulling these strings just sacrifice these kids like it was just another Tuesday, they
Right.
certainly wouldn't mind wiping mine out. And maybe they're just going, hey, they look at us and they go, hey, fuck off, you podcasting losers. Like, I'm taking care of my
Oh,
own.
absolutely.
Well,
Absolutely.
if the CIA knocked on your doors and
Absolutely.
said, "Look, here's the
Shut
deal."
the fuck up. They said, take down this episode.
And this is exactly why I wanted to
done.
bring this point. This is why I
Here,
wanted to bring
here,
this up.
take my microphone. Take my microphone from me.
Here you go. I'm turning in my
Well,
badge.
my point is let's leave them out of it.
Sure.
At the end of the day, because of the potential ramifications here. Not to absolve them of this or anything else. Characters is is revealed by a conflict and all.
But
the
I
rest
don't
of it.
think that's a character flaw, though. I think
I
there's
don't
there's
either.
something there's
Exactly.
something more to it. You can't have 20 character flaws simultaneously like that, showing up, standing there for 70 minutes, 77 minutes, with no one reaching into their primal instinct and saying, this is what you do. And supposedly one of them, their kid died. Now that could be just, let's add some juice to the story, right? There's already enough juice to the story, but
what we have to realize, and the takeaway from all of this is that,
by the way, going home to your wife, having to fess up to her that you stood there while your daughter got killed. You want to talk about it's bad enough when you come home and you left the toilet seat up, right? I mean, this would be,
this is at this
that's
point,
why he wouldn't have stood there. That's why he wouldn't have stood there.
I
The
agree.
idea that a guy stood there for 7 minutes with his daughter in the school.
Dead than face your wife.
He would go in there buck naked with a toothpick to fight the guy, right? I mean, it's just
what I'm thinking here is that ultimately the takeaway from this is that the institutions are failing. They want us to be outraged at the institutional failure and blame the cops, as opposed to the circumstances that led to the situation, which was, if this is an operation, then the cynical fuckers who did this and quote unquote and shot those and created the circumstances to have those 20 kids get shot and everything we know about the story that is actually true, which it isn't.
Well, let me ask you,
it tells us what we need to do.
If you had to bet your life, are there 25 dead kids? If you had to bet your life, are there or are there not 25 dead kids? There's a sort of a basal question.
No.
Okay.
So there weren't 20 cops standing outside the building for 77 minutes either.
So you think somehow the whole thing was, so they're doing their homework better than I thought. They can pull that off, right? At some level.
Because as we've already established, there's no freaking way that the people that were involved, were supposedly there, would have done that for that long.
So when it seems impossible, then it's probably not true, right?
Right. So we have to assume that all of these impossible things that they're telling us don't compute. The differential equations don't solve. We don't have an answer. Like, we're done. So now
you need a new model. You need a new model.
Yeah.
We as people need to realize this. Stop falling for the bullshit. Stop getting lost down the rabbit holes of the details. It's part of the reason why I didn't even spend 5 minutes thinking about this, other than, oh look, so they're shoving another thing down our throats. What is this actually for? What does this actually accomplish? And what is the real takeaway? For example, it's another one. Like this morning, Biden made a big deal this morning on the eve of the G7 conference this morning to come out and say, we're putting sanctions on the G7 countries are not allowed to buy Russian gold anymore. Well, this is really simple as to what. Like who gives a shit? It's gold. Aside from the fact that you're sanctioning the periodic table at this point, right? Which is dumb. The idea that
chemist, I have a real problem with it, right?
Yeah, because there's two chemists in the room, by the way. Your book editor, Tommy. So aside from the fact that that's dumb, what does this actually mean? Well, it's very obvious. 3 days ago, it came out that Switzerland was buying a whole bunch of Russian gold. Why? Why would Switzerland, one of the biggest gold refiners in the world, for who? The LBMA, which is where most of the Swiss gold that gets refined goes to. The LBMA is the Swiss refiner's biggest customer. When the LBMA is getting drained of all of its gold, there is no gold. I mean, they don't have any gold. The COMEX, CRIMEX, gold, the GLD ETF story is falling apart. There is no gold within that system. It's going to collapse soon. They've suppressed the price of gold $120 an ounce. And what's Davos doing? Davos now wants the price of gold to rise because that's the only way they can help repair the ECB's balance sheet as rates start to rise, because the ECB marks its gold to market, as opposed to the Fed, which marks it at 42.22 an ounce.
So if gold went up 10x, it would wipe out a lot of debt.
It would wipe out an awful lot of debt. It would wipe out. It would save the ECB, at least in the short term. It would do a lot of things. And
so why is it? When is it going to get released to the wild? When's the price of gold going to get discovered?
Let me finish let me finish the original point, which is that this is Davos trying to raise the price of gold against the Federal Reserve, who was raising interest rates and helping to suppress the price of gold, which is part of the reason why Basel III got delayed on implementation and all the rest of it, because there's a fundamental disconnect between the implementation of Basel III, which supports the ECB, versus the Federal Reserve. So, like, why is Biden doing this? Well, it's clearly because Biden works for Davos, and Davos is trying to raise the price of gold. That's what this is about. It has nothing to do with the war. It has nothing to do with denying Putin tens of billions of dollars of gold sales. Like, there isn't gold demand. Like, there isn't. Every other central bank in the world isn't buying gold right now, and they'll be happy to buy.
What probability do you put on the idea that Putin's working with us rather than against us?
With who? With the WEF?
With the West. With the West.
I think
this whole thing is kabuki theater.
No, I don't buy that at all.
You think
I think
this
Putin
really is
on the one side, the Fed and the commercial
so
banks.
This is Putin China. This is Putin China versus the West.
This is Putin and China versus the Federal Reserve and the commercial banks versus Davos. That's what I say. To actually save civilization.
So
most people don't carve the Federal Reserve away from Davos.
Yeah,
I have.
Yeah, I know you.
And in the last year.
Yeah,
and it's very clear. I think you and I talked about this a little bit, haven't we, Dave? That I really do see that the Fed is aggressively raising interest rates to break the Eurodollar markets and to break the ECB and to force a political and economic crisis onto Europe in order to save the commercial banking system and to delay the implementation of central bank digital currencies.
Well, so that's the thing. The black swan in the marketplace, to me, is one of two things. Either Powell grew a pair when no one saw it coming, or, which I think would be your model, or Powell didn't grow a pair, but he discovers he has no control over the system once he decides to try to save it again, that this time he can't save it.
I think it's more the former than the latter. And I think that Powell was trying to save the system as way back as early as in 2018 with the implementation of SOFR.
Right.
Okay. I really do think that if you map everything out, that the commercial banking interests in the United States, and then there's Davos affiliated commercial banks, both maybe not to a lesser extent Citibank, but certainly BOFA and BlackRock and Vanguard and those guys. And then there's JP Morgan, to a lesser extent Goldman, I think, is finally on board. And now, interestingly enough, I was watching Martin Armstrong on Palisades Gold Radio last night, and he reminded me that it was Citibank in August of 2019, which finally stopped repoing, which finally stopped taking all European debt as collateral for repo contracts. Now, JP Morgan had already done that at the beginning of the year, right?
Well, it was also August of 2019 that BlackRock told Powell he had to go direct.
Mm-hmm.
He had to shove money into the retail part of the banking system.
Yep.
I'm not sure how you affiliate the different banks with the different teams. That's the part. Well, I'm struggling with.
It's who backs the Davos agenda or not. And I think that, look, for the last
Credit
year,
Suisse Nomura would bank the Davos agenda then.
What's that?
Credit
Suisse, Nomura, yeah, absolutely.
Well, the curious thing is those are the guys who ate it when Huang lost it. And Goldman was on the other side of that trade, which therefore puts Goldman with the other team.
Yep. But Nomura, Credit Suisse, and a couple of others. But the way, and look at Jamie Dimon. Look at the statements that have come out of Jamie Dimon in the last month. There's a hurricane coming, folks.
Apocalyptic.
Yes.
Dimon doesn't look like he'd be easily switched to a new world order.
No. That disagreeable Greek motherfucker is not turning JP Morgan over to a bunch of German eugenicists.
Yeah, right. He wants the yacht.
I'm sorry, but old enmities between European tribes matter. And no fucking way does that Greek motherfucker turn over JP Morgan to a bunch of Greek eugenicists.
Especially since they already took the Greeks' money back in whenever.
Okay, I'm gonna tell. Okay, so we've already gone down this rabbit hole. So let me describe to you how much the Greeks and the Germans hate each other. I have a friend of mine whose dad was. I just heard this recently. It's hilarious. he used to say, talking about Greek and German philosophers. He's like, you fucking German philosophers, you fucking people. We were on our failing our third civilization before you fucking people got out of the trees.
Right. There's
Okay,
Germania.
that's the difference between
Germania.
Greeks and Germans.
Yeah.
Okay, you people hadn't even come out of the trees yet. We were already on our third civilization. Fuck you. Okay, so let's get down to brass tacks here. This is one of the reasons why I never really like to entertain. I mean, I'm in that space where I have people constantly saying to me, "Come on, man, just name the Jew." I'm like, why? Moynihan's Irish. Diamond is Greek. This one is that. This one's French. This one, like, none of these people are Jews. This is the problem. Stop it. This is a convenient meme. I mean, some of it's real, certainly, but it's no better than any other nationality. Are you kidding me? Like, I'm dealing with the Club of Rome shit here.
Someone said, "Look, they're human. How more insulting can I be?"
So is this just at its base level? Is this human nature? Can you never have a one world government because you'll always the very ruthless psychopathic nature you need to get to the top is the same one that says, I'm not working with this douche. It's Larry Bird and Magic Johnson going, fuck him. It's Tom Brady and whoever going, I don't fuck that guy. I'm not playing with him. I'm the star.
No, well, it's just simply put, cartels are metastable when you have, they're already metastable normally. And then you get a bunch of like sharks in the room together. And the minute one of the sharks decides to wants to try and take out one of the other sharks, are we not going to have a cage match?
Right. It's a critical mass problem. You hit a threshold where it becomes metastable.
Yeah, it's a bell curve.
It becomes existential. When one group decides to try and take the other group out, central bank digital currencies represent an existential threat to the commercial banking interest in the United States, which is by far the most powerful lobby in the United States. Fuck the military industrial complex. Fuck everything. Nothing compares to the commercial banking interest in the United States. I'm not just talking about the New York boys here. I'm talking about regional banks. I'm talking about community banks. I'm talking about credit unions. These are the most powerful people in the United States. And these people are still capitalists in some way.
But
they might like their one-way trades.
There's the rising threat of the tech world.
Yes.
Yeah, they're the new money douchebags. They're like, fuck these guys too. They're coming in here with their new world order and censorship. They're like, dude, we've been running this shit since Model Ts were home.
And the fact that Apple has got more capital than most of the banks do.
Yeah.
And can easily start a new financial system tomorrow.
And in the technocratic world of the future, that is power.
Yeah. So like I can see them, like, they control the Federal Reserve. So they're going to use the Fed. It's a weapon to them. It's an asset. Why wouldn't they deploy it to its maximal advantage while it still has power? Why wait another 5 years?
This is the big one right here.
Oh, look at him.
Let me bring up a trivial. Bring up a trivial example of this kind of crap to see what I'm missing, and that is the Patriot Front.
Oh my God.
The Patriot Front. Those guys who are clearly military-like.
Fucking feds.
Oh, those are feds. Those are feds like there's no tomorrow.
Through and through.
So then what happens is I picked up a few of the failed scam, right? So first of all, they can't not walk in order. The military guys can't walk along without being in lockstep with each other. They cover their faces. They're all in shape. There's no paunches. There's no nothing.
They all have the same BMI.
That's right. And there's scenes.
And they all wear the same sunglasses and have the same highlights.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, the soles of their boots are the same and everything like that. And then all of a sudden there's pictures of them. I go, wait a minute. They've got these guys handcuffed. They still have their backpacks on.
Yeah, bullshit.
Now, if these guys were dangerous pipe bombers, would you leave them with their backpacks on? No.
FYI, they're all wearing the same military watches.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely.
And I got news for you. No fucking millennial, no millennial insurrectionist is wearing a fucking watch. And if he is, it's an Apple Watch.
Right.
Give me a fucking break. Like, give me this. Oh God, it's so bad. Like, they all shop at the same store.
I know. But it's almost like it's a satire.
It is.
That's kind of what I think is. I think it's almost like hyper normalization. I think it's so clearly a Fed op that they're almost just look like, hey, look, we know you know that we know you know it's a Fed op. And
So
what are you
Rogan-
going to do about
Rogan
it?
and his guests were looking at it. One of them said, "Oh, that's the 101st Airborne right there."
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, they walked straight out of Quantico and just mass
Straight
produced
out.
them.
So
No,
then
yeah,
the
as opposed to straight out of Compton, straight out of
Yeah,
Quantico.
straight out of Quantico. That's the real Q. It's so
then the question is, when the guy signed up for this seems treasonous to me.
they were voluntold. They didn't sign up for shit. They're agents and they're told this is your new operation.
Voluntold. I like that. I used to say militarily volunteered. I need 3 guys, you, and you.
Oh, that's what the military guys always
voluntold,
say
yeah,
out here.
exactly.
They call it voluntold.
I like that.
Interesting. Voluntold.
Well,
That's almost as good as beg manding. Have you heard that one yet?
no.
That's what Zelensky's been doing.
What?
He's been begging and demanding at the same
Beg
time.
manding?
Yeah, beg manding.
That's
what Joaquin Flores calls Zelensky's friggin' PR tour.
yeah.
He beg mans from the West that they give him more weapons.
I mean, he's got he's got his own like wardrobe team. They've war gamed this. They've focus grouped it. They're like, you got to look disheveled, like you just left a paintball match. Like that's how they have him set up to go.
Yeah, and he receives heads of state.
Ben Stiller's over there taking. Oh, thank God, Ben Stiller's there.
Thank God Bojo's over there. If he goes back to the United Kingdom, he's going to get lynched.
It's never been more wag the doggish than this one.
No, never. I haven't watched that movie in years, but goddamn, I watched it once. I didn't even laugh. Not once. Because I was like, that's true. That's true. That's true.
Could it be possible?
I cried a lot watching that movie, actually.
Could it be possible, Uvalde, that they went in there and they did go in just like nuts out, like, let's do this. And they went in there and they shot the first kid they saw. And some little kid's laying there with a bowl cut. They're going, Jesus fuck Christ. And they're all outside and they're terrified. And they're going, maybe he'll just get swept up with the rest of the deaths.
I think the shooters, a lot of them, are deeply troubled teens who have been commandeered.
Of course,
some
they've
MK
been
Ultra
plucked off
shit.
the internet. Yeah. Ted Kaczynski is one of the most famous graduates of the program.
Sidney Gottlieb's book, Poisoner and Chief.
The other thing is when the guy came out, he went on his knees and put his hands up like this. It was so orchestrated.
No, I thought they killed him.
No,
the shooter, Uvalde.
I think they caught him.
No,
I think he came
I thought he died.
The Border Patrol guy went in there and killed him.
That's right.
Oh, that's right. What am I
the
thinking?
bullet marking on
I'm
it.
thinking of the top, maybe the guy in tops, maybe. The guy in tops came out and put his hands behind his head, went to his knees.
So is the Border Patrol guy, he's just the guy who wandered on set? Or
he could have been
well, apparently, yeah. Well, apparently his kid was in there. And he was
a coin toss.
And he was nearby, and he was allegedly at the barber shop, and he heard all the gunshots. Or I guess it was across the street, and the barber, and he's like, "My daughter's in there," and the barber's like, "Take my." That actually, as absurd as that seems to me, that seems more believable.
Yeah,
it's just two guys going, go for it.
I want to believe that. Just like I want to believe the guys on United 93 commandeered the plane.
Sure,
right?
I want to believe,
but I don't.
Yeah,
I don't.
But I fucking don't.
I don't.
No, it's
no.
So I think the problem is what that Border Patrol guy showed is what we think the other 20 should have showed.
Yes,
right.
Which is why it's kind of believable that it was that the Border Patrol.
He was just the guy who wanted us
because he was just a dude that's like, yo, what's going on in there? Just you can't go in there. Fuck off, shoot me, or going in there. He just goes with a shotgun and murks him.
Come on, guys. He didn't see the cue card.
Yeah, he didn't see the fucking
The director's yelling cut, and he's like.
The fucking on the dolly track.
Can't hear it. I'm sorry, can't hear you.
Yeah, that guy fucked it all up. I think
it's. On the other hand, it had to end. So
it had to. It had to end.
Well, and on the other hand, the guy who was actually did the shooting, supposedly, is now dead.
Well, yeah, he's gone.
Right.
So again, is this?
So you got to watch the documentary on Vegas. You really have to watch the Vegas documentary.
All right.
It's just extraordinary. The things.
Just do me a favor, Dave. I either put it in the chat or send me an email or whatever. So
I'll put it up on Twitter and I'll tag you guys.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you.
It doesn't make sense though, because this again, from 100,000 foot view, it's positive light on a border patrol agent, and aren't we supposed to dissolve the borders? So again, it doesn't make sense. It does make
Right.
that's where it gets weird. Is it's not for disarmament. It says you can't trust the cops, and it's also saying, hey, border patrol's good. These are not like Davos
I know.
talking
When
points, which
seconds
is
matter,
weird.
the police are minutes away, or in this case, 77 minutes away.
Yeah. They'll watch. They'll film it on their body cams so you can get life insurance policies. But I don't. It doesn't make sense
No, never.
unless this is a psyop of a warring faction against the Davos group. They're saying, hey, everybody arm up.
Well, the other thing you don't know is, let's say there's teams. So for example, like the trivial case where someone paints a swastika and you go, that's probably a lefty, right?
Yeah.
All probability the swastika came from a lefty who's trying to
100%.
stir up
And he's
trouble,
just
right?
supporting the Azovs.
So here's one I want to ask you.
Slava Ukraine.
The timing of Roe v. Wade seems suspicious to me.
Of
Yeah.
course it is.
That plays into they want everyone to fight.
The Supreme Court could have said, let's stay away from that one for now.
Well,
they might have said, hey,
but
we have the
apparently
numbers.
apparently I ran that same scenario and I was scolded by my partner Dexter White. He's like, no, this was actually on the court docket. They don't really have a lot of control.
Really, your partner's name is Dexter White?
Yeah, you know that.
I did, but then I remember, Harry Dexter White, right? The Battle of Bretton Woods, blah blah blah. Okay.
But that he brought that up to me. He said, look, the court doesn't actually have much control over this. It's the way the court schedule works. It was coming up this year, no matter what they couldn't get around it. So
well, when did it get put on the docket though?
I don't know the details. I just remember him making the arguments to me as to why, and that was that.
No, but the point being is, if the docket is say 3 years, that's a blink of an eye for these guys.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just going by someone who follows the court far more closely than I do, and the inner workings of the court and how the court actually operates.
He said,
in his opinion, this was coming down no matter what. That the way this particular case was going to come down, just like the New York case. Like, this is why Uvalde, this is why Buffalo. It was about the gun control, striking down gun control, the concealed carry laws in the blue states, and they wanted to spin. Look, the Democrats are desperate for something to hang their hat on to run on this fall. They don't have anything.
I think this is the equivalent of
and every one of these incidents, by the way, and every one of these court cases and these incidents further my argument that the Fed and the commercial banks are off the Democrats' train, and because they need to fundraise on something, because the banks aren't giving them any money.
It's kind of like the whole project for a new American century, right? Like right before 9/11, absent a new Pearl Harbor, we can't blah blah blah. It almost seems like, let's say you're the Democrat mastermind, whatever, you're at the head table with the cigars and the whatever, and you're going, we certainly can't, Tom's there, we certainly can't bank on our extraordinary economy or our vaccine mandates, our censorship, our open border, or giving all of our money to Ukraine and the disaster in Kabul. We got to have something that gets to the visceral heart, because logic, we cannot deny the logic that we're raping the economy to death. What can we do? No more abortions. And all of a sudden you have the lefties frothing at the mouth, and they can now go, I don't care about my gas bill. I don't care that a chicken breast costs $1,000. We have to fight the evil white fascist Christians. It might be a false flag on yourself.
We have to fight evil men.
We got to do this. Look, they just passed a concealed carry, and they're getting rid of abortion. Hey, forget the economy. We got to rise up this summer and stop the red wave.
We have to rise up and stop this rampant individualism, or it could get bad for us. Like, typical fucking.
Oh, but here's the problem I'm having with this model, and that is a stirred up model. It's fine. Implicit in what I'm hearing in the language is that it's kind of like a good guys, bad guys, where the lefties are the bad guys. The stories we've been talking about for an hour and a half now are they're all bad guys.
Oh, no. I'm not saying it's good versus bad. I just mean faction. Okay. Faction.
Yeah,
right.
The reality
they needed the left.
I think it's the Democrat strategy.
They needed, but I don't think it's the Democrats needing something. I think what it is that they needed the fight to be more fair. So the Democrats had lost so much ground All of a sudden there wasn't a fight.
They're giving them a good. Yeah.
Oh yeah, again,
So
this is
they're trying
this
to
is them
balance
trying-
up the power.
Yeah,
Okay.
this
Trying
is
to
them
balance up
trying to
the
get back
power.
to only losing 40 seats in the House.
Yeah.
As
But I don't
opposed to
think,
100.
but right. So I think they want, but it's not about Democrats needing Democrat seats. It's about the power structure needing equal proportions of seats.
Because the last thing they're going to have is the last thing they want is 150 Marjorie Taylor Greens
Yeah.
Right?
and Lauren Boeberts.
Because that's a lot of people to whack.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a lot of people they can't seem to bribe.
Yeah.
Like, what happens when you have a whole bunch of people who they don't have a file on?
Well, by the way, I'm not convinced that she's not just part of the Kabuki theater, right?
Might not be.
She's the AOC of the right, right?
Yeah.
But but again, the media likes to create those people.
Well,
on
that's my
purpose.
point.
But what I mean is that I think Dan Crenshaw was that person,
Yeah.
and
Right.
he got sniffed out immediately. Remember, 4chan and 8chan are far more powerful than people want to give them credit for.
They're far more powerful than the CIA.
They're
They're almost
the,
more, well, and we also know that since the Ukraine war started, that the amount of infiltration again. I don't monitor 4chan personally, but I have friends who do, as to figure out where we're going next, because all the narratives start there, and including from the FBI and the CIA and MI6 and the Mossad, they're all in there.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Seeding this stuff immediately before it ever hits Twitter. I get to it when because I have no interest in that stuff. I mean, I do, but I have other people who monitor it for me, so I don't have to.
It's like the autistic molten core.
Yeah.
So 4chan is
it bubbles up.
4chan is the neonatal ward of the craziness. Is that what you're saying?
It's the pluripotent embryo. Yeah,
Right.
It's the
Yeah.
thing that can diverge into anything. Your wildest
Right.
dreams, a war in
So
Ukraine, whatever
the
you
question
want.
is, I always got the idea that 4chan also might be a bunch of ex-spooks who are out there fighting the good
Yeah.
fight.
Oh yeah, no, it's both.
Oh,
It's
it's an entire.
it's
It's
part
an
of that.
entire
So whenever they're-
clusterfuck. It's a culture.
Yeah, whenever they're really
See, I've
trying to
never,
push a
I've,
narrative,
I don't know where
they
to
show
go
up
to
in- they
find
show up in
4chan.
droves.
How do you find 4chan?
I've
where-
never used 4chan, but I have my friends who are always seem to be months ahead of every. Hey, there's a war in Ukraine coming. I'm like, no, there's fucking not. Like, this is happening. They always they dive in there, and I don't even. They're kind of like my translators. They go in there and they do like the deep quantum physics of like 4chan autism, and they come out and they read to me the crystal ball. I don't know how to use it. I mean, I'm pretty off kilter, but I don't know how to use
I have tried using 4chan and
It's too messy. It's too
okay
noisy.
to me, but
too noisy. It's too noisy.
but I'll tell you that
it's pure potential.
you're absolutely right, Tom.
It is
That
it is
those
the
guys
looking
know
glass.
what they're doing, and they're very, very good. And they can find the spooks, and the wars that go on between the hardcore autistes on there and the intelligence agents are epic. From what I
They're
understand.
amazing.
Yeah, they really are, and it's a whole subculture of everything that we do in the public sphere. But everything we do in the public sphere, guys, is informed by those wars.
It's kind of like how Skunkworks is using technology that the rest of us will get in 30 years. 4chan's like it's like tomorrow's like
it's the
culture
breeder
arguments
reactor of the
today. Yeah, they're in this. They have the thorium reactor of retardation, and
Yeah,
So it's the raw data.
yeah,
And the fascinating part about it is that we go from breeder reactor to Twitterati in no time flat, and they can debunk anything in almost real time.
yeah,
And it's an invaluable service,
yeah.
and it's invaluable service to all of us, because it really does help. As long as you keep a healthy skepticism of, just start with your heuristic of, they're lying to you.
Yeah, I mean, seriously.
It's a very simple, they're lying to you. That's my heuristic.
Yeah.
Right. Now that's
Now just go find the data, and then the data shows up, and then you're like, oh, there it is. And then if they're not lying to us, it's like, wow, for once they didn't lie. What does that mean? Holy shit. And then you go down another 18 rabbit holes because they didn't lie for once. And then every
Right.
once in a while you get shit like, oh, well, maybe the Fed's actually trying to save itself. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then you just kind of start putting some stuff together. And but again, all of these things are their own traps. And so
Yeah.
part of it is really important. That's, I tell this to everybody all the time. I'm like, don't get too far down all of the data. Learn to be, as Dave and I've talked about in the previous podcasts, learn to separate the signal from the noise.
You got to be able to surf the data.
And so you can always, if you set your signal to noise threshold to a certain level, and then everything that pops up above that can give you a very clear signal, and everything below that is just a distraction. That will
So
drive
you're
you mad.
deep, your level's deeper than mine. Mine is what I would call the zero hedge level.
Yeah, well, that's part of what mine is. 90% of that, I'm at that level too. But
Right.
I've also been, I don't know, I've been kind of doing this in that corner of the world for a while. And again, I have people who are that delve into into the corners of this stuff in ways that I don't. Like, I have patrons all over the world, so they're monitoring foreign news sources on a daily basis of shit that I could never find on my own. And
Right.
so, I tell you that I give my patrons all the credit all the time. They're like, I call them my Baker Street irregulars, or whatever the Sherlock Holmes, his network of spies that he had on the streets of London. In order to
my email box is a dumpster fire now from people like before the Ukrainian war started. Someone emails me and says, "Are you aware that the Ukrainians in the West are shelling the Ukrainians in the East?"
Right.
And I'm going, okay, let's just put that in the back of my brain and figure out what that means later. And then another guy said, what was it? There was something really prophetic about it. And then all of a sudden so as soon as the Ukraine war broke out, I had this sort of sense from T = 0 that the story was completely wrong. I think guys like Scott Ritter are trying to tell us the right story. There's a guy named Colonel.
I met Scott recently, actually, out in Houston at the Ron Paul Summit on foreign policy. Very interesting. We had dinner. He myself, Peter Canones, and another guy, and we had a great chat about what was going on. And Scott's view on things is, coming as I think, very much a kind of betrayed jarhead, right? I would never
get involved.
That would not happen.
Yeah, that's my life.
Boston Terriers. That's all I got to say. My terrier was sitting over there, very happy, very reasonably. He's on a line because he kills ducklings. That's why he's on a line right now. But he would be over here nipping at my feet. I'd be like, no. I have another one who would look up and go, "Can I jump on your lap now, please?" I'm like, "No, Jenny." And then she would do it anyway. And then I throw her off again.
What does Jenny know about Uvalde?
But like, this is where back to I think we were talking about Ukraine. To me, this is, I knew from the beginning that the fog of war was going to be off the charts, and it was never going to be this bad. And and the 4chan traffic was really, really difficult for people to parse, because the amount of mis and dis and malinformation that was being put out on 4chan, as well as Telegram and everywhere else, was just off the charts. And so, trying to bracket for the reality was nearly impossible. Part of me realized that almost at the beginning and just said, look, I'm going to go back to first principles of what I know well, which is, this is how I see the players. This is who I think they are. And now let's see. And this is what I think they're going to do. And this is what I think they're going to do. And I was talking with Scott Ritter. That was the thing. And many of Ritter's arguments come from a position of a man who's clearly been betrayed by his government.
Right.
It
shows.
And he's very, very angry about it. And that's the sense I got from him. And I just bracketed. And for once, I always had some problems with some of the way he presented his material previously on, and his articles on RT and whatnot. I'm like, yeah, okay, fine. But once I realized that was the situation, I gave him a lot more slack from, an emotional perspective, because it's very clear that as a Marine, he feels completely betrayed by the way the American government has betrayed.
So for those who are confused by what we're talking about,
right?
the players you want to watch. I started this story being the guy, and I think I told this last time, being the guy who, if you showed me a map, I would not be able to pick out Ukraine, right?
Right.
You started the story 10 years ago. But
Right.
what helped me was the first thing I did is I found the guys who were telling the other side, which was impossible at first.
Yes.
And so it was Ritter, guy named Colonel Abbott or something like that.
Then Colonel
McGregor, and then John Mearsheimer, Steve Walt,
who I've been watching them for 10 years.
Yeah. So I binged Mearsheimer. I had already become a Putin. The word is not fan because we know he's a tough guy, but respectful as hell of what he was capable of doing.
Yes.
And I had already binged most of his speeches. I think I've watched every speech now that's publicly available.
Wow.
And certainly the big ones.
Yeah.
And
the 2007 Munich Security Conference, 2015 at the UN.
The ones that Mearsheimer quotes in his talks, for one thing. And then the other thing is you have to go back. If you're going to Google stuff, you have to put a pre-January 1st filter.
Yeah.
Because you will get nothing but pure propaganda if you Google this now.
Right.
So what you do is you 2010 to 2019.
Yes.
And what you'll find out is that Zelensky's a miserable wretch. You'll find out that the coup was U.S. based. You'll find out all the stuff you need to know. You'll find out the Azov Battalion is a bunch of Nazis. They're on civil rights watch lists. They've been brawling and mutilating other Ukrainians for years now, and now they're heroes. And so you find out you get all the entire story in a much less varnished form.
Yes.
Because it was in our interest, I think, to keep Ukraine under wraps in some way. So that's why the propaganda machine was telling about his evil side.
Yes.
Those who think that those freedom fighters and Azovstal were the good guys have just completely. It blows my mind that story got sold as well as it did.
Azovstal was really obvious.
Right.
Azovstal was where NATO was running the Ukraine war from.
Right.
France,
and it was also
France, the Americans, Canada, the Brits, they were all down
home base. It was the Nazi home base for 10 years.
And NATO. And look, Alexander Mercouris over at the Duran about 2 months ago, a month and a half ago, I was watching one of their videos. And again, sometimes Alex just puts in the words something that I felt, but I hadn't put together. I hadn't had a chance to actually write about. And what Alex pointed out was that NATO prepped Ukraine for the wrong war. Like you talked earlier about.
That's exactly right.
Right. It was a point. I was going to bring up earlier when you mentioned it earlier.
Yes, it's World War I, not World War III.
Right. They prepped. They looked at the way the Russians ran the operation in Syria, all air war. Supporting the Syrian Arab army with tanks, doing maneuver warfare, blah, 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 blah. So we prepped the Ukrainian army. So NATO prepped and trained a Ukrainian army to fight with NATO weapons, with NATO battle tactics against the Russian army. NATO has failed on all three of those fronts because the Russians turned right around after they gave us a scare with what they could do with some amount of maneuver warfare up front. The Russians did not achieve they achieved some goals up north and they didn't achieve others. And you can argue back and forth, though. I believe pro-Russian guys like Martanyov and the Saker and others will say it was always a feint, blah, blah, 100% a feint, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, it wasn't 100% a feint. My ass. You don't lose that many tanks. You don't lose that many men. You don't commit those Spetsnaz. That's not 100% true. It's 75% true. It's 50% true. The stretch goal was to take Ukraine. Fine. To take Kiev. Fine. But don't blow smoke up my ass. Don't piss down my back and tell me it's raining. Right? Let's deal in reality here. The Russian army would have been very happy to decapitate Ukraine by taking Kiev if they could have and been done with it. And then they could have forced a situation, but they didn't get it. So then they very rightly fell
But
back,
it does seem
and
possible
knowing
to
full well
me.
that they were going to fight an artillery war in the Donbass, which they were uniquely prepared to fight because they knew that Ukraine was prepped to fight against an air war.
Right.
So it didn't matter that they failed in Kiev.
Well, it also seems possible to me that they didn't plan Kiev to be a win. They might have taken it if they could.
Right. That's
But
been
it's
my
not at all.
argument.
It's well, Ritter's argument has been, look, they threw a head fake to Kiev
Yeah,
to
that's
get the army to pull back into Kiev, whatever, to defend it, and then they could do an end run.
I hear that argument, and I'm like, that's fine, and that's a perfectly reasonable way of to me, that's Monday morning quarterback. Because the Belarusians had a big fucking if they had taken the air base north of Kiev, they've taken the Gostomel airport. I got news for you. That fucking 40-mile column of tanks would have been marching on Kiev. They didn't take the Gostomel airport. They lost they lost at least one IL-76 full of Spetsnaz who were supposed to go in and start the urban warfare. It didn't happen. And they rightly change strategy. Like, that's what you're supposed to do in war. This is the way things work. Oh, well, we tried this camp, but it didn't work. Okay, well, this is our backup plan. And there's no shame in this is the part that bothers me about the pro-Russian side of the commentariat. There's no shame in admitting this. You actually don't sound like an asshole if you admit this. You actually don't sound like a shill for once. And this is what I would, I didn't make that point that way to Scott, but I said, look, to me, and when I argued that way, when we talked about it, it's like, yeah, that makes sense. I'm like, exactly. And my problem with so much of the high quality pro-Russian commentariat, mostly from Russians, like I said, people like the Saker and Bernard over at Moon of Alabama, who happens to be German, and others, is this argument that the Russians can do no wrong. And I'm like, bullshit. The Russians did make mistakes in this war. They weren't fatal, and they're obviously have learned from those mistakes and then have adjusted their battle plan. There's no shame in admitting that. And that doesn't make me a shill for the US, and that doesn't make me a shill for NATO. Oh, by the way, which I've been accused of by many of the people in that community. And like, dude, I'm on your side here. I think the Russians are doing a bang up job. I'm just not going to say that they have been blameless in their execution. That's all. And I don't think
my antennas picked up on the story, because normally the story wouldn't have caught my eye. But I was watching the footage, and I drove my wife nuts, and I was tweeting it too. So there's a written record out there. I kept saying to my wife, "This does not look like a war to me." I said, "Where's the Saving Private Ryan footage?" I said, "Show me a picture of a burned out car. I can't tell you if it's in Ukraine or Detroit."
Right.
You know, and the explosions were always off in the distance where you couldn't identify what actually blew up. Right. And there was footage showing all this destruction. I go, they keep showing the same building over and over and over, which if you have a out of date factory, you might want to blow the hell up and then get some nice footage from. And it turned into a war.
Right.
Because, and I think this is a case that I think it comes from Ritter, the immorality of arming the Ukrainians, which is a death sentence for them. Yes, is really serious, right? So, absolutely. So if the Russians go to take over some small country, you don't send, as Zelensky said, every last Ukrainian. I'm going, dude, that's not the right answer. No, right? If you're gonna lose in the end, it's not the time to say we're gonna fight to the end. It just doesn't make sense. A funny story though. There's a story about the French get grief for being cowards. Right. And someone, I'm trying to remember who it was, said, the French have fought an awful lot of wars, so you got to be careful there that they call them cowards. And he tells a story of a French guy where they beat the shit out of the French squad. He was the last man standing, and the general comes along and says, "You got to surrender," right? And he said, only if you let me keep my gun. And the commander said, "Sure, keep your gun."
Now that is one. It is one point. We're all kind of living downstream of the only good thing Jonah Goldberg ever said, which was called the French cheese-eating surrender monkeys. Right?
He's eating surrender monkeys. Oh
Okay.
my God. Where
Only
did you come
good
up with that?
thing that he ever said. That little fucking piece of shit, and he is a piece of shit. And I don't give a fuck. Fight me, bro. He's a piece of shit.
I had dinner with him.
Neocon piece of shit through and through. But I'll give him that one. She's eating surrender monkeys, but it's not true. The French military has a long and storied tradition. They've fought very, very different.
With the US.
Very, very hard. And by the way, the French made the right decision. French military made the right decision in surrendering in World War II, because they would have been wiped out and it wouldn't have mattered.
Right.
They wouldn't have
So
been
it would
there
be
to fight.
senseless death.
Senseless death. And what's happening, what Davos is doing in Ukraine is they are running a PR campaign in order to try, and they have tried for 4 months to try and gin up support for the plucky Ukrainians against the evil Russians, to get us to fight their war for them, while the Brits keep trying to engineer false flag after false flag after false flag to create an Article 5 invocation so that they can go, see, the Russians are the bad guys. The latest one is Lithuania.
This is like Longshank shooting. It's like Longshank shooting the arrows into the battlefield, hitting both teams simultaneously.
Exactly. While snipers on the Maidan shooting both the cops and the protesters.
Right.
Same thing. Okay. So, watching the Russians fight this artillery war, it's very clear to me what their goals are now. And their goals are, they're going to continue grinding this out until there is no Ukrainian army left, and they take the entire country east of the Dnieper River, and that will include Odessa. It's going to include, they are going to take Odessa. And Kissinger was at Davos saying, stop this madness now before they take Odessa. And Soros then the next day comes out and goes, fight to the last Ukrainian, fight to my last dollar.
So you're saying Soros is a Davosian, huh? There's my shot face.
pure Davos through and through.
I know.
And I watched this and I'm like, the Russians since then have said nothing other than, well, that's nice that you want to stop, you want a ceasefire. We published the draft treaty back in December. If you're willing to discuss that in real time, we're willing to listen, but we don't think you people are capable of signing an agreement and holding to it. So we're going to take everything that we want. So it's your choice now to actually get involved. And now the interesting part is, and this is the fascinating part, because the Russians are fighting a low-tech artillery, World War I style artillery war with World War II level weapons for the most part, not their best weapon.
Right.
Which you can make the argument. And the big argument is whether or not the Russians have enough of their latest armaments to fight a protracted war, because the sanctions since 2014 have kept the Russians from being able to build a large number of T-90 Armada tanks and the latest 5th generation airframes. They have some of these things, but they don't have a lot of them at scale. So now the question is, as long as this war stays at this level of conflict, of this level of technology, then the Russians are going to grind everything out, because they can make all the artillery shells they ever wanted to, because it's all locally sourced. And they have a bigger problem right now of, are they going to have enough fucking people to man the arms factories to build all the shit that needs to be built, and to build the roads and the pipelines and everything else to start sending all of their commodities east? The railroads and the pipelines and the this and the that, all that stuff. Like, they're going to have to import labor from all across the global south to build out the Russian Far East to get this done. They're part of basically what amounts to road and rail for their problem. But the big one is, if they get control of Odessa, this is the strategic. This is what Kissinger sees, and is very powerful. Again, not my original idea. Came to me from one of my Serbian patrons. Said, by the way, here's the treaty of access to the Danube River system. If the Russians take Odessa, they get access by treaty to the Danube. And once they have that, all of Eastern Europe now has an opportunity to leave the European Union and have their goods get to port from Czechia, from Slovakia, from Slovenia, Hungary, and points north, Serbia. They don't have to go through the European Union to get their goods out to the world. They can leave the European Union and have a port on the Black Sea that they didn't have before.
What is the
That's
purpose?
that's the point here.
What is the purpose of pressuring Sweden and Finland to join NATO right now?
Oh, it's easy. They just want to put weapons on. Again, it's another one. They can put weapons into Sweden and Finland that will, time of flight to Moscow, almost nothing. Time of flight to St. Petersburg, almost nothing. That's one. The second one is to get the Russians on tilt. They want the Russians, as poker players would say, to put them on tilt, to get them to make a mistake, to annoy them to the point of getting them to do something dumb, so that then we can turn around and say, see, they have aggressive plans on all the rest of Eastern Europe, and therefore we can get an Article 5 invocation, and therefore we have just cause to widen the conflict. And the Russians so far have not taken the bait because Putin's not a moron. But everybody's standing behind Putin. That's the bigger question. So the British have been signaling that they're going to assassinate Putin in the next 2 to 3 months.
They have?
That's what they're signaling.
I didn't know that.
If you read the British press releases, if you read the way Liz Truss talks and the way Boris Johnson talks, and you read the British press and you read the MI6 approved British press, they all keep saying the same thing. Putin's got throat cancer. He's going to die in the next 3 months. Putin's got liver cancer. He's going to die in the next 3 months.
He's going
to die in the next 3 months. He's going to die in the next 3 months.
Okay, I got you. They're prepping them.
And there's going to be an escalation in August. And there's going to be an escalation in August. They keep saying this over and over and over again.
So on a hype Mearsheimer really is, for those who are trying to catch up fast, Mearsheimer talks are brilliant. And the one things he does is he shows all the different instances in which Putin went to NATO and said, here's the problem we have, and this is why you can't do this. And what Mearsheimer paints is this unbelievably clear picture of how we didn't just say, no, we can't accept that. We said we couldn't give less of a fuck about your sovereign needs. And that's when it becomes existential risk.
Yes.
And then when you say, and by the way, we're going to assassinate you too, if that's not a 1-2 punch for existential risk, I don't know what is. So Mearsheimer, in a series of exchanges, sent me a monk debate in which he and Steve Walt debated the Polish former minister of war, whatever he was, named Sikorsky, and a total neocon McFall.
Oh God!
And they were so annoying. They were so annoying.
Yes.
But then 2 weeks later, something, I saw Sikorsky talk about how we have to think about nuking Russia. I'm going, holy crap! This guy's opinion is no longer of interest to me because
Mike McFall is noted for saying McFall is the former ambassador to Russia. Now, the first rule of diplomacy is diplomats don't actually lie.
Right.
The politicians can all lie. They can all say whatever they need to say, and the politicians understand. The other politicians understand that the other side's politicians are lying. But behind the scenes, the diplomats are always telling the truth.
So Mearsheimer says that. Mearsheimer says countries don't lie to other countries; they lie to their own people.
Right, and they lie, and the politicians lie in the press, but the actual diplomats don't lie. They actually do the serious work of diplomacy. McFall has literally said, "Of course we lie about everything. How else do we get anything done? We were always lying to the Russians in our diplomatically. He was
and that
proud
drove
of this.
Putin nuts.
He's talked
that
about
drove
this.
Putin nuts.
He fucking put this shit on fucking Twitter, for Christ's sake.
I know.
Okay. And Lavrov and Putin have both said, and it was when he was ambassador to Russia under Obama, when Clinton was Secretary of State, that the Russians declared the United States not agreement capable. And the particular construction of that phrase in Russian, because Andre the Saker went over this when they first announced this, was there's two ways of saying that basic phrase in Russian. One is you you don't have the ability to enforce the agreement that you're putting on.
The other
offer.
says,
You can't.
and the other is
You don't have the power
morally
to
can't
do
do
it.
it.
You
The other one is
don't have
morally you
the
can't
power
do it.
or the assets to do this. You'd like to do it, but you can't. And then there's the other one, which is you don't honor the agreements that you can enforce.
And I think that was it.
And that was the
That
one
was
that
it.
they were. That was the phrase, the Russian phrase that they used to describe the United States. That was in 2015, guys.
In one of his speeches, Putin said we didn't get it in writing. And he said, when they say something to us, we expect them to be telling us the truth, and we didn't get it in writing. And then he was talking, he approached NATO and said, no Ukraine and NATO.
Right.
And he wanted it in writing, and they wouldn't give it to him in writing. And he said, and therefore, but they also flipped him off. They flipped him off completely.
Of course.
And you can't say you're so Mearsheimer's gotten more militant with time, I think.
Yes.
He now, his most recent talk I saw was I think it was just about a week ago. The most recent one I saw. He just says this war is 100% NATO's fault.
Of course it is.
100%. Well, I know it is, but it's staggering when someone of such prominence goes out there and says that. That's a surprisingly blunt statement.
Yeah, no, it truly is. And that means that they wanted it. And I think the way I put it in a blog post when it first happened, I said very simply, NATO chose this war. Putin chose the time.
So why does NATO want it?
Because they need to collapse Western society, because we're broke, pension systems are broken. They need to blame it on something. It's very simple.
Seems
all
like it's
back to the same basic shit that they always do.
It seems like they're laundering this. They're laundering the inept and sinful movements, or not movements, actions taken by the West for the last 70 years. Seems like they're laundering it. We can just clear it all out in a war. Just fuck it all. It's all a war. That's what I think it is. I think it's a way to just kind of. I mean, it also just kind of seems like we're reaching this point of like unfunded liabilities, of debt, and we're like, hey, like we've got to flip the board. Like we can't win this Monopoly game. What we do have, once the kid doesn't get what he wants, he stops arguing and just starts crying and throwing shit. That's what we are. But we have the biggest military the world's ever seen. And I think we're kind of just hitting a point where it's like, hey guys, the books are not balancing. We are never going to balance this. But my God, we've got an army that's beyond description. Just fuck it, flip the board.
So the ugly scenario.
But do we really? That's a good question.
Yeah.
The ugly scenario, therefore, is that we is not just that we have a financial collapse, but
it's being engendered.
But one that's actually also in the middle of a horrific global catastrophe.
Reorganization of global capital.
Right.
The Chinese and the Russians for the last 15 years have made multiple offers to the West. Say, look, let's just carve the world up. It's inevitable. Let's carve the world up. You can have your place. We'll have ours. Blah, 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 blah. And there are plenty of people within the United States who believe, yeah, let's do that. But Europe will never accept. This is why I keep focusing on Europe, because it's the pathology of the mindset of the people who have architected this scenario. The Brits still want their empire. The Europeans want their colonies back.
And the Germans still want their economy.
The Germans still want the fourth fucking Reich, for Christ's sake.
Yeah,
Let's just stop mincing goddamn words.
They're still
fucking Germans.
They're still jerking off to IG Farben's resurgence.
Like,
any day now.
I am so over Germans and Ukrainians. It's not funny. I mean, I'm just at the point now. I'm over Germany. I'm over Germans, and I'm over Ukrainians. There are no two people on this groups of people on this planet who are more solipsistic about their importance in history than Ukrainians, modern Ukrainians, and Germans. I'm done. I've had it, and I'm over it. Like the Ukrainians, I've been taught.
You gotta throw teenagers in there too. You gotta throw teenagers in there while you're at it.
Well, yeah, okay, fine, but that's who they've inculcated. They now have two generations of Ukrainians and have taught them that they're the real Russian Empire. that they're the real Russia, that they're this, that the Russians are just dirty offshoots of the glorious Ukrainians. Like this is, but go read. I've seen fucking Ukrainian textbooks on this shit. Like it's real, and we did a lot of this. We put our money, our think tanks, our NGOs put money in there to create this fucking mindset. This is the fucking George Soros plan. Okay. And the Germans with their I don't, like I said, these people think that they've added to the philosophical base. And yet, as far as the Greeks are concerned, they're just coming out of the goddamn trees, for Christ's sake. So like, but I'm just over it. I'm over their solipsism and their unbelievable and unearned sense of self-importance. And so are the Russians. And the Russians are saying, you know what? Fuck you. We're grinding you into a paste. Here comes the artillery. By the way, we just made twice the amount that we just dumped on you yesterday. Alexander Bakaris, again, my good friend Alex, had a video out the other day about an article at RUSI, the Royal it's the Royal Military Think Tank, RUSI. Guy going over the amount of armament, ammunition being expended and in the Donbass right now versus the amount of the annual production of weaponry across the West. We're expending an annual amount of ammunition in Ukraine and our annual production in a week. The Russians' military productive capacity is only rising because it's not organized around just-in-time Keiretsu and all the rest of this shit. They've been stockpiling weaponry for years. They don't have the world's most efficient economy, but God knows they have an efficient economy for building artillery shells and for building second order, the last generation tanks.
They're
And
the classical old economy. They're the classic
old economy. And Putin, and it's all in Putin's barely readable, mostly plagiarized PhD thesis.
So maybe the release valve for all of this is just a carving up of the world, because it seems like
so now Tommy, I hate to,
we're not going to let it go though.
You're good.
But here's the better question. We already know all this. So why is Davos getting the United States to drain its ammunition supplies and send them all to Ukraine?
To demolish the West, the same way Biden's using the strategic oil reserves.
Everything that the Biden administration does can be summed up in one phrase. It makes America weaker.
Yeah, it's not incompetent. People are like, how stupid could this administration be? They're not stupid. You don't look at someone that uses a bunch of demolition charges to bring a building down in a controlled demolition and go, that idiot. You go, wow, what an artist. They brought that thing down in its footprint. What they're doing to the U.S. How could you be so dumb?
Obvious.
They're not dumb.
Obama was better at hiding it.
Yeah.
But under Biden, they've lost all pretense of hiding. Now they spent 4 years of Trump telling everybody that America is evil and convincing all the progressives that America needs to be torn down. And the dumb fucking libertarians, the LP is, by the way, the Twitterati of the liberty movement. They have fallen for this in the worst way imaginable, and they've become mostly unlistenable. I mean, guys who I for years respected when they were the true vestiges of the anti-war movement here in the United States have not upped their game. They're just doing the same things, and they're actually helping to feed the fucking beast, because the real enemy here are the commies in Europe who want their colonies back. Putin made it abundantly clear at Valdai, huge speech that he gave at Valdai, where he went over the historical context of communism and said, look, communism is a European idea. It came out of Germany. It was imposed upon us during our last bout of political instability at the end of the Tsarist era. We were ripe for that kind of scenario. And they took this new idea and they gave it to us. And he just named names, the Brits and the Europeans. They funded this. They funded Lenin. They funded World War I. They funded World War II. He did this on purpose. These are evil fucking people who have always had a desire to destroy Russia. Putin understands it from a deep historical context. You can argue whether or not he's, whitewashing or, oversimplifying or history or whatever. It doesn't matter. You want to have a nuanced historical discussion of the shortcomings of Vladimir Putin's worldview? Fine. I'm not doing that today, because today we're dealing with a bunch of people who believe they are entitled to rule the fucking world, and they will do anything imaginable necessary to make sure that that happens. And their next move is to flip the game board. So drink in one hand, cigar in the other. It's either going to be the crustal jerk and the 6,000 fucking foot tidal wave, or a whole bunch of nukes are going to fly. I hope I'm wrong about both of those things.
Have either of you seen Pentagon Wars? The movie?
No.
Okay, never mind. Well, this analogy won't work at all then. Well, I can't use it, so I'll just use something else. It'd be like if we each wanted to make our own dish, and like Dave wants something, Tom wants something, and I want something, and we finally we've reached this compromise where we realize that we all are going to want to put in our own ingredients, but we're all cooking wildly different things. So we all throw it into a pot, and I'm making a cake, one of you's making pasta, and the other's making a steak. On its own, each one makes sense, but if we throw it all together, it's like, what in the fuck? I think that's what we're seeing. We're seeing all these plans. Well, but we're seeing all these plans from different factions, all not surviving contact with the enemy, and so we get this thing where it doesn't make any sense, because you have this Davos plan, you have this this Wall Street plan, you have this Elon Musk fucking wild card who's like, I'm just going to leave the planet. You have the whole thing. You have China and the 100-year marathon. You have all these things that, on their own, in a vacuum, you go, oh, that makes sense. I see what game they're playing. But you're seeing somebody's playing Monopoly, somebody's playing checkers, somebody's playing Connect 4, and someone else is playing AlphaGo, and they're all on the
someone
same
else
board.
Is playing fucking diplomacy.
Yeah, and then someone else is just pissing on
as
the
a
board.
board game geek, I can tell you, someone is playing a much bigger game than those.
But the thing is so it's all there. You're looking at it, you're going, I don't even know what this is, which is why I think it looks the way it does.
Well, you're right. I think that one of the things that's been really interesting to me over the course of the last year or so is, as this accelerates, right, and the old factions start to break down and the old cartels start to break down, the game board from that perspective is a little jumbled, but it's actually becoming very, very binary very fast, because when you push things to this level of crisis, everybody has to make a binary choice. Which side do you want?
Right.
And that's why I think the Federal Reserve is moving the way it has, and Davos moved against the Fed the way it did. And that's the prima facie evidence as to why the Fed is off the Davos train. They tried to get rid of Powell. They tried to blackmail him with $6.5 trillion worth of more spending that we didn't need. They did all these things last year. And then when that failed, they're now fucked. They don't have any control. Biden summons Powell to the White House and then comes out and says, well, I respect the Fed's independence, and we'll just have to blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's Powell walking in and going, fuck you. You look at me sideways at 75 basis points. Barack, shut the fuck up, or I'll make it 100. And then he walked out the room. And by the way, there's another 75. There's another 75 in July. Fuck you. Because I know damn well, guys, that I'm not going to bust inflation with rate hikes here, because this is cost push inflation that you guys created. I'm going to fuck your masters. I'm going to fuck the people who gave you the fucking orders. Because if I break those motherfuckers, I break all of this shit. If you break the Eurodollar markets, you break Davos. You break the old European banks. You break all the old fucking money. You break all of this shit, because you engender a fucking pitchforks and guillotines nightmare across Europe that none of these people survived, because they all walked out from behind the shadows and said, yes, we're going to lead you into the new utopia. And they're all going to go, fuck you. We're going to kill you all now. Long guillotines and rope makers, baby. Look at Emmanuel Macron in France. He has a neutered government. Boris Johnson is on his last legs while he says, I'm not leaving office as long as, the Ukraine, we have full support for the Ukraine war, blah, 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 blah. Like these people are all living in a fucking fantasy world. And Putin's going to cut off Nord Stream 1 and fuck Robert Habeck in the ass over in Germany, who's really the chancellor. Like this is all very obvious. Mario Draghi is going to get pulled out of the parliament in like the next 3 months by his perfectly manicured, as a perfect coiffure, and be beaten in the streets. Like the Italians don't give a fuck about their government on most days, but if you go to liquefy them, yeah, no.
Okay. Now
what happens? What happens? Here's an interesting question. I talked to my brother about this a lot. What happens if it becomes clear to the masses at large that the vaccine was just a death shot?
I think probably pure. I think it's binary. It's either French Revolution on steroids, or
nothing,
or it's just people going, yeah, smoke it and drink it. Hey, yeah,
Right.
sure makes sense.
I don't know. That's gonna.
I think it's one.
My
or the
generation
other
of people are gonna be angry as fuck. The younger generations they may just tune out and go, well, we'll just take our lumps. I mean,
They might not even ever
the
come to
millennials have
terms
been
with
beaten to
it.
death.
Yeah, I think the cognitive dissonance might be so strong. They just go, no, it's not. Shut up.
Maybe. I don't know. It's a real good question. But what I've seen from enough, I have a lot of millennial friends who are awake to some of the reality of what's going on, and but at the same time they all feel the same sense of, yeah, but we've been fucked over so many times, they'll just fuck us over again.
Yeah, I mean, I was born in 1990. I've seen 9/11, I've seen 2008, and I've seen COVID. And it's like I'm 31. You're kind of like, yeah, this once in a lifetime shit. Yeah, no, this happens every 10 years. Like,
yeah, it happens every so often. Yeah, I got to deal with this shit again.
Yeah, just look at the clock. I'm like, we're coming up on another.
Hey, they stole all our money, and I can't afford a house, and how am I going to have a kid?
Yeah, you just
fuck it. Video games and
jerking off all day. Yeah.
So
you've also marinated in the new era propaganda since daycare, right? You're sort of the tip of the spear.
Yeah.
The younger guys, starting from daycare, were getting indoctrinated with all sorts of ideas that on the surface look fine, right? Treat each other well, blah, blah, blah. But then the story starts getting shifted. And it starts saying, okay, by the way, these guys are bad because they don't treat everyone well, and next thing you know, you've demonized, and so why wouldn't you commit election fraud if you really did believe Trump was Hitler?
If you had to take down the Nazi by any cause.
Absolutely. That the whole purpose of that was to radicalize normal people into believing they are fighting the war,
an existential threat,
and that way you don't even have to have organized voter fraud. You just have people acting in what they think is their best interest. That's the thing that scares me more than anything else.
Or you have people that believe, or you have people that will never admit that they think there was voter fraud, but they don't care because they too believe Trump is Hitler. So they're just like, hey, whatever you had to do.
Yeah, but we'll see what happens we'll see what happens going forward. At $7 a gallon gasoline and no diesel fuel, they're gonna have to.
Well, this is what I wanted to bring up is. So we've kind of painted this picture over 2.5 hours of how the entire globe is just one big bonfire. Well, now we have the golden-haired Donald Trump, who is just a fire hose of kerosene. What do y'all think the next 2 years holds on that manner? Is he coming back? Is he going to run again? Is he going to sort of give the blessing to DeSantis? Will there be election fraud 2.0? Is there a red wave of epic proportions? Does the country split in two? Does Trump go quietly into the good night, or does he die on this hill?
All of the above, and I have no idea. They're all good questions, and I don't know. Dave? It could go either. It honestly could go either way.
Yeah.
In every one
I
of
have
those.
this sense that Trump wants to keep the Trump agenda alive, which means he has to keep his candidacy alive.
Yeah.
And it means he has to move candidates over towards him to keep pulling MAGA people away from him. So Trump won in his world the way Bernie won in his world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Bernie pulled the Democratic Party way over to the left. Trump has pulled it way over to the right. And so in some sense, Trump has already achieved what he set out to achieve.
Yeah.
And I personally often say I don't want to see Trump run because it just the kerosene model, right? I'm just not sure I'm ready to see that kind of kerosene.
I want to see it too
badly. But I know, well, there is a certain sadistic quality about it. My brother, on the other hand, sent me a video of a guy who said, here's why it has to be Trump, not a Trump wannabe. And he, in this video, did this nice job of going through and saying this, explaining how this is the only guy who's got the firepower to step into the job immediately and not spend the first 3 years trying to get his feet on the ground. So he now knows what it's like inside that beltway. He would just walk into it and say, okay, you go here, you go here, you go here, let's do it. And then on Tuesday, we'll figure out what we're going to do. Right.
Yeah. I can see a number of things happening. I mean, if Trump, I think Trump keeps his hand in the ring simply to drive the Democrats crazy.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. They're spending all of their money and all their political capital trying to deny him his candidacy, which is the dumbest thing imaginable because he may not even run.
Right.
It's like double teaming the best player. He's just absorbing resources.
Yeah, he's there running
Speaking,
a war.
Let me divert. Here's a duping. Here's a duping that's just like that. So we had to put up with what 2 months of Nina Jankowicz in the Ministry of Truth. And she acts like an asshole. She says all those things, and we're just all appalled, and we're exhausted from our appalled behavior.
Right.
And then she finally steps down, and who do they slip in? Michael Chertoff.
Right. Who's worse?
Way worse. And then all of a sudden, there's no noise because, like, oh, finally we got Nina out of there.
Get rid of that bitch.
Exactly.
And I'm thinking, do
and
you
every time
really
every time I step through a fucking porno scanner at the airport, all I do is curse that fucking guy.
Right. So then the question is, do you really think Nina was their first choice and Chertoff was their second?
No, I think that was a Hegelian dialect.
So
that's right. Nina's got an island in the Caymans now with her name on it because she took the beating. And
yeah.
So is it the Straussian two-step, right? So Trump could easily be running an interference, running
DeSantis
an interference
or someone. Yeah.
Yeah. And for DeSantis and you know, the problem here is the big question is whether or not you want DeSantis to leave Florida. Martin, I was listening to Martin Armstrong the other night. He's like, "Don't no, he can't leave. He needs to like leave Florida out of the union." Martin is already like, the United States is done. We're fucked. Republics are done with. They're not going to survive this. They're not going to survive the next 10 years. Yada yada yada. And I can't argue with him. I can see that as one very very possible outcome here. And if so, then I don't want DeSantis leaving Florida. I want him to stay here as governor and to lead, if necessary, to lead us out of the Mordor and the Potomac and the 50-state compact. If it's going to,
you could always move to California.
That utopia.
That utopia.
I could also stick.
I was put a shotgun in my throat.
I can also stick large razor bladed dildos up my ass, but that's not going to happen either.
That's back. We're back to the Valium model.
Yeah, we're back to that.
We're back to the
fucking children thing again. So
it comes full circle. Folks.
Gotta give it to you loud and dirty, otherwise it doesn't stick, right? The old Patton line. So, I don't know. Like, I don't know if this gets really disorganized or if, I was talking to a guy. I'm about to publish a podcast I did with a guy named Bill Faywell over the weekend. And very interesting guy who believes in the 4 stages of revolution. And he's got a book on it. And the reason I haven't published a podcast yet is because I forgot to ask him during the podcast where can people buy the book. So I'm waiting for him to give me the link so I can do that because he's obviously not out on Amazon or, anywhere else. Right. So, and he was saying he firmly believes that they're going to have to get rid of Biden between now and when they seat the new Congress, because they're going to need to blame Biden for all of this stuff. And they're going to need to get in somebody else before the new Congress sets in, or put up Kamala Harris in charge, because she can easily fill the role, in his words, of he used a particular phrase. It was great.
Hegelian.
The conscientious killer. something like that, where, oh, well, for the good of the country, we have to kill all these people. And I, of course, put forth my Janet Yellen argument saying, no, they'll get rid of both of them, but put Mama Yellen in charge. And I'm like, come on, Bill. Like, if you don't think that Janet Yellen can't perform that same role while still looking like someone's Jewish grandmother,
right,
who's also apolitical and not divisive, like, so I don't know. Like, I think that things are going to get very, very ugly politically in the next 18 months to 3 years, and anything is possible. And I hate handicapping any of it at this point. My upside scenario is the one I've talked about many times. The Republicans win 190 to 100 seats in the House majority. They win 4 or 5 seats in the Senate. The mood on Capitol Hill shifts so far that they're willing to, that if the Republicans say impeach the dog catcher from Uvalde, Texas, everybody stands up and goes, yes, because they want to make sure that they get reelected. But that's the popular argument, that they get reelected in 2024, meaning you'll see 11 Democrats side with the Republicans to impeach and convict Joe Biden and put his ass in jail, or whatever they're going to do to him. Same thing with Kamala Harris if they've got any dirt on her. And that's all of it. At the wild card scenario, the one that would make me giggle to no end would be, they get that majority, they nominate and elect Trump as Speaker of the House, and then impeach and convict both Biden and Harris and make Trump president.
Do you think that
that's my upside scenario? That way, Trump gets to have his revenge against Biden and the Democrats,
no, it'd be the funniest,
and then walks away, and then walks off the stage in 2024 for a unity ticket of DeSantis and Tulsi Gabbard.
Nothing would be funny.
I would love a Tulsi Gabbard DeSantis combo platter.
She wouldn't.
Everybody I talk to says the same
thing. I tried to get her on my podcast. No response. Do you think that
I haven't asked her?
Do you think that the leak of the Roe v. Wade decision, do you think that leak was intentional to let off some of the impact value of it?
No,
I don't think know which team did it. I don't think you can say confidently.
I have no idea, but I mean,
no. Both teams, you can make an argument for why they'd want to leak it.
I'm of the opinion that it was one of Sotomayor's interns. Okay. They did it on purpose to get the Democrats into the. They wanted the test run whether or not we had rule by mob or not. So whether the Supreme Court would change their decision.
It was so they could print 100,000 protest signs.
Yeah, that too. They gotta.
Well, yeah. I mean,
there was a chick on Twitter the other day.
They're lining the pockets of big protest.
There was a chick on Twitter who made a Roe v. Wade argument that didn't strike me as particularly clever, and she had 2,000 followers, I think, and she racked up 875,000 likes. Wow. That beat the shark stepping on a Lego tweet.
It's funny. I really do think that they were test running whether or not we could have rule by the mob or not, violent mob, to see if they could pressure the Supreme Court justice to switch their vote, to see if we could get to that stage. Because if we
I think it's the other way. I'll make the exact opposite argument. The right leaked it. The right leaked it so that the right so that the fence sitters would have to say, we can't be bullied into making the wrong decision. Now we got to go with it.
I'm okay with that. That would actually make me feel better about our future, because that would mean that that patriots are actually beginning to realize that this is a fucking war, and that it's time to get serious about this shit. And you have to fight them with their tactics.
I think they're.
Dude, seriously, we never do this.
What if they're shifting the window to, like you said, it's not that it's Roe v. Wade, it's that, are we going to be bullied by a mob or ruled by the court? Are they slowly shifting the window for, bigger and bigger cases? This is how do we eventually get something? No.
I think to Dave's point, I want to say this. To Dave's point, is this, because it just popped into my head. I like Dave's point, because now I think in these terms. The Alitos intern leaked the damn thing to force everybody to do what needed to be done. And now we have a situation. Oh God, it was right in my head. Oh shit, it just went away. Oh fuck.
Bigger and bigger cases, Overton window.
No,
rule by court.
That the Keith Olbermann tweet.
Oh my God.
Was brilliant, right? Because now what we have is the left using fucking states' rights arguments to overthrow the court, to say, well, we'll nullify the court. Like, yes, exactly.
But that's
this is an ideological two-step. This is like a twofer. Now we've got the left have gone so crazy that they're now using states' rights arguments. It's a bad constructed states' rights argument, but let's not get involved in that. It's still, they're making the argument for states' rights. Now all of a sudden we're gonna have progressives like AOC out there screaming that we have to nullify the court.
So
and real libertarians are going, yes.
So they've gone so far over the left, they've gone so far over the left horizon that they're starting to come over.
They come right back. Yep. And we always knew that we could push them to that state. It's not hard. All you have to do is continually push them and push them and push them and push them. Eventually, you can get you know that they are abreacting fucking noradrenaline monkeys. These are not deep people. You say X, they go, well, we want not X, and then you go, okay, you want not X, well, how about not Y? Well, then how about not Z? And now all of a sudden we're right back to, oh, by the way, you've now just made my argument for me. Thank you very much.
You know, you ever notice
it's the Socratic method, but it's the Socratic method in Twitter. On Twitter, it's awesome.
So
you ever notice you can attach anything to the word monkey and it makes it funny?
It's hilarious.
This is true.
It is. I'm a podcast monkey, but like, I don't know. It kind of seems like, just like a lot of people probably would never say it. A lot of people who voted for Biden in 2020 are probably a bunch of intelligent people are going, that was a fucky election, but I think Trump was a Nazi. So whatever, I'll just look past it.
Sure.
Is shit going to get so bad with inflation, unemployment, supply chain collapse that people might start to look at something as absurd as re-examining the 2020 election? Do you think there's a lot of people who are starting to go, no?
The argument against that is there's too many Republicans who got elected in an election that they don't want questioned. Therefore,
touche.
97% re-election rate.
We don't have a legal mechanism the Constitution does not have a mechanism for decertifying an election like this. It's done. It's over. It's in the past. Now what you'll see is people just move forward and go, we're not going to let that happen again.
That's what I think it is I don't think it will ever be resurrected. I don't think it'll ever be fixed.
The bigger question is whether Davos is going to try and create a situation where we don't have elections.
So I've interviewed General Flynn's brother, and he said that General Flynn believes that, it's not that we're gonna, now that we've plugged all the fraud holes, that we can have fair elections. He thinks there will be the COVID part 2, but not necessarily a virus. But there will be some new black swan event where we will not have elections in 2024.
I don't think they're going to plug the hole in the elections. There have been holes in the elections for quite a few cycles.
Forever, yeah.
Yeah, to the point where I think it was Obama, one of the times he got elected, there were WikiLeaks describing how one team gamed the other and shit like that. So I think it's been happening for a long time.
For eternity, yeah.
Dude, this 2016,
but they don't care who wins. They don't care who wins except for Trump.
The 2016 election, there were at least 2 million fake votes in California. Okay. Because they wanted to make sure that if they wanted, not only did they want Hillary to win, they didn't want the worst case scenario where the Hillary lost the popular vote but won the electoral college vote. So they padded her vote totals in California by 2 million votes easily. Go look at the vote. Go look at the votes in Go look at California's voting history. Then go look at the 2016 election results, and you'll see what I'm talking about. It's not hard to find. Okay, it's real. So just understand that they manufacture consent at every level. It's all scripted. It's all staged, and then they just go out there and they sell it because they're a bunch of fucking psychopaths. Now I think we've gotten to a point now where we've almost reached critical mass where enough people believe that they lie about everything, that they're not willing to believe a goddamn thing these people say.
Now, is this a problem for them, or is this their goal?
I think they thought it was their goal, but the blowback is actually on them is going to be far worse.
Okay.
Yeah.
That covers your bets. That's a pretty hedged answer you gave me there.
No, I really do. I think that they wanted that, but I've always said that these people engender chaos, but they think that they have better control over the chaos than they do.
Yeah.
And by very nature, chaos is not controllable.
Yeah. I'm going to light a
Right.
forest fire to take down my neighbor. All right,
Control
bud.
burn. Right?
Yeah.
Control burn. Right.
Yeah.
But but then they don't see it burning down. But then they missed the part where they forgot to remove the gas can sitting between the two houses, and that lights on fire and blows up their house too.
So the other interesting question. Oh shit! You got to be kidding me! Goddamn, Fiona, my dog's eating the corner of an 18th century tea table.
We got good taste.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then,
There's also the difficulty of separating the premeditated stuff from the noise.
Yes.
So, for example, it's something like critical race theory, which is obviously divisive as hell, could just be a spin-off that just happened, and so we're okay with that, right?
yeah, just a manifestation of just radicalism.
Well, what
Right.
happens is you have these breeder reactors called universities that create all these bad ideas. No
Free
offense,
free electrons.
I'm so
you're in the right
offended.
field, so I don't get
Free
excited.
radicals.
I'm so offended. Yeah.
Yeah, I know you're. Well, no, you're in the proper field where this shit doesn't. But you know exactly what I'm talking about.
No. That's not true. Not true.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You're
I
right.
hear rumor of a top 5 institution whose chemistry department is marinating in this crap.
Well, that's great. I needed to hear that. But so it was just all right. I'll back off. So we have these breeder reactors called universities that take bad ideas like French postmodernism and Marxism and just go nuts. They don't have to direct it. All they have to do is make sure that it's fun.
The thing they've directed, though, potentially, is the shutdown of the opposing bad ideas.
Of course.
So I think cancel culture is a beta test for total suppression of free speech, right? I mean, I think that's an engineered protocol in which, even if it goes out of vogue, when you're talking, you're going to be going, maybe I shouldn't say that.
Oh yeah. I know.
So,
Like there's been that subtext has been in this entire conversation. Every time I use the words, they like to fuck little children, right? So I mean,
right.
Should I have really said that? No, yeah, I shouldn't really say it.
I've found
Should I say it? Is it really good for my business? I don't know at this point. I don't really even care.
We're seeing a microcosm of how maybe they couldn't plan the blowback, because I look at someone like myself who got permanently banned from YouTube. Now it's just become my own rule of thumb to never bite my tongue, because I know it's a slippery slope. It starts with you can't talk about the 2020 election, then it goes to COVID, then it goes to, until now I'm just like, you know what, kowtowing got me nowhere. I still got banned, so fuck it, just say everything. I don't think that's.
I've gotten more militant too. I've gotten more militant.
And
so
it's
they've
not
tried to bring me down several times, and now it's just like, bring it on. We're going public.
I don't think they understood. I don't think they planned for that blowback. I think they planned for a bunch of limp dick soy boys to go, all right, well, I won't talk about this, and then they can move into the next verboten. But instead, something else happened. Yeah, people go, fuck this, I'm not playing. Fuck you, I'm going to my own party. Who wants to join me? I don't think they planned
The genius response was Chappelle, who said, "You will not summon me. I will not take a knee."
Yeah,
I'm thinking, holy shit! Whoever's writing his script, they
OG
nailed it
right there. Yeah,
that's it.
I believe Dave Chappelle writes his own material.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will say this though, and I will say this. I am 90% of my bluntness. I don't say everything that comes into my head, because I have made the calculation at times that there's no profit in going into certain areas.
Oh, sure.
Right.
Not profit from a monetary standpoint, or from
it's unwinnable.
Like what's
unwinnable? It's unwinnable.
Well, it's not even just that. It's like, look, I have a platform. I can say 90% of 90% of me is still radical fucking enough. that I don't need to say it all. We don't need to go to certain areas just to make ourselves feel good about whatever conspiracy theory is actually sitting in the corner of our heads. We don't need to talk about that stuff because all they're going to do is then they'll give us. Then you're just giving them the ammunition to get rid of you.
Yeah.
So better to play a little bit of the game and talk around it and go, yeah, guys, I get it. I know there's a Khazari mafia out there. I get it. That's fine. You guys talk about that shit all you want on your channel.
Yeah.
I'm not going to. I don't need to.
You don't have to go to DEFCON 1.
Because there's no point in doing that because all that's going to do is give them the ammunition to go, yep, all right, strike that guy. Like, I don't need to do that. Better that I get to do what I'm doing and, really bring high level ideas and seed those into the zeitgeist. When I'm sitting there listening to Martin Armstrong use the phrase the Davos crowd, okay, I know where I am. Like when I see it on Tucker fucking Carlson and Laura Ingraham, literally Laura Ingraham uses the phrase the Davos crowd now. Like, this is a good thing. I have people now adopting my arguments about the Fed. They won't give me credit for it. I don't need the credit. I don't give a fuck. I just want to win. Like, I don't give a fuck.
Why is Tucker still on the air? Why is Tucker Carlson still on the air?
Because he's got to play.
Because he's willing to play the game up to a point.
I think
he goes pretty far.
And Fox still needs the ratings.
That's true. It's also a company. I think he plays ball. I think.
Oh, he absolutely
didn't he come out like the day or the day after the election and say there's no fraud, that it wasn't.
Oh, he's taken some snipes at the election.
Oh,
no,
yeah.
but while it was happening though, wasn't he not going? Am I getting this wrong? Was he not going along?
I
don't
remember.
I think
enough to know.
I think when it came down to crunch time, maybe in hindsight he's critical of it. When it came down to game day, he was saying there is no fraud. Stop it. To me, you saw
talking about election fraud. Talking about election fraud now doesn't matter.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. When it mattered, when it was still like up in the air,
they got what they wanted,
and they were still finding.
No, but
ballots,
I still mention
Tucker played ball.
I still mention it to try to keep it as a discussable topic.
Yeah, I mean, we're never going to find out who whacked JFK, but it's important to constantly go back to it.
Right, and so I occasionally will mention 9/11.
Yeah,
I will occasionally, and not to get into a debate about it,
right?
But just to make sure that I'm on record of being aware of it.
Yep. I know. These are always good questions. I mean, there are times when, I know that they keep certain. Look, don't kid yourself. Part of the reason why they keep certain people, allow us to have certain people on the air. Certain people still have platforms. Edward Snowden still has a Twitter account.
Yeah.
Now, why?
That's a fascinating question.
Now,
I hadn't thought about that.
Okay, now why? Here's
fascinating.
There's two possible questions, two possible answers.
Limited hangout.
He's still working for the NSA. Or two, you leave him open to you leave him on with an open mic to give the platforms an air of legitimacy. See, we still allow Edward Snowden to talk. We still allow this guy to talk. We still allow that guy to talk. We don't fully censor. We only censor the crazies. That's their argument. We only censor the Alex Joneses. We only censor this guy. We only censor that guy. We only censor the Babylon Bee.
I think
Trump. Did you see the article that said that Twitter had not censored threats against, threats to kill
Clarence
Supreme
Thomas?
Court justices? Yeah. And then there was a screen grab showing the threat. And there was a screen grab showing Twitter saying this may not be what you were looking for, but they did not break Twitter's rules. And then there's a screen grab showing that they dumped the account finally.
Yeah.
There are some accounts. There are some tweets going around about Clarence Thomas yesterday that, to my surprise, those accounts got nuked.
But here's the key, though. The key is that what I've noticed is my follower count goes up, the friction goes up.
Yeah.
And so if you don't have a big following, they don't care. Right. They're looking for smoldering embers that have turned into more of a little more of an inferno.
Yep.
So there are certain topics I can guarantee you if I post on, low following count trolls will show up immediately.
Absolutely.
And so
How many, Dave, I just out of curiosity, I haven't checked recently. How many do you have now on Twitter?
about 82,000 or something.
I'm at 16 and rising steadily.
I've been at 1,204 for almost 100 days in a row. I don't know what that
and mine freezes and it makes these big jumps. So they seem to put a brake on it, and then all of a sudden there'll be something that'll cause a burst.
Yeah.
And then it's like the algo say, okay, fine, whatever, and they leave that. But I'll sit at, when you're 81,200, I'm probably picking up 50 followers a day just out of the noise.
Right.
And yet the count it just flutters around and flutters around. I went 6 months without changing. And then I get a burst from something I did that really caught people's attention, and then it just flutters again.
It took me. It took me 2 years to break 5,000 on YouTube. I got banned from YouTube, and then from last August till now, June 2020, I've gone to 10,000. So you can see the thumb on the scale.
Right.
Oh yeah.
I have people saying to me, "Look, your tweets are not showing up on my feed. I go look for them and I find them, but they're not coming across."
Oh, you never show up in my feed, Dave. Not unless somebody at me.
Interesting.
I saw a tweet from Megyn Kelly yesterday, who I followed for 3 years. The first one yesterday, 2 days ago.
Tim Dillon's shadow banned. I never get his stuff.
And she was, I understand it was about either the Supreme Court case or the Federal Reserve or something like that. And I'm like, oh wow, she's taking really good care of herself. So it's good. I'm like, wow, and I'm like, that's right, I do follow Megyn Kelly, don't I? And Megyn Kelly is not, is verboten.
So I forgot. So I had this idea a while ago, and I forgot. I completely fucking forgot. I wanted to float it by you two. What if Elon does go through and get Twitter? Is there a way that, I don't understand blockchain at all, but if he did some sort of every account was verified, if he did a blockchain exit poll after the 2024 election, just anonymously, who'd you vote for? Just LOL.
Oh, you can do it. You can easily do that. You can easily do any of elections should be handled on a fucking publicly auditable.
Well, we know that's not going to happen because that means
we know that's
fair. But could Elon not?
Oh, they're doing it. By the way, they do it in Russia. By the way, just FYI.
Okay.
The mayor of Moscow.
I think Elon is stuck between being a total deep state guy, and maybe in his older age starting to be haunted by
breakaway.
Yeah, that he might be getting to that moment where he says, I've got to stand up for something more. There's no way that Tesla isn't surviving from serious money coming in from. You don't get
defense contracts without playing ball.
Here's an interesting other thought about Elon Musk. That Elon Musk is actually a Walter Block style character. That he's actually an
amalgamation. Okay.
And that Walter Block for years has always made the argument, hey, look, there's absolutely no reason not to apply for government grants. It's your money. They stole it from you in the first place.
So Walter, you're talking about the Walter Block from
the Mises Institute.
Yes.
So Walter's always been the real radical at the Mises Institute. And he's the one, defending written, books like Defending the Undefendable and blah, 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 blah. And Walter's always made the arguments no, it's your money. They stole it from you. Go get it back. Cheat on your it's morally right to cheat on your taxes. It's morally right to do all of these things. It's morally right to apply for Social Security and for unemployment, all this stuff, because it's your money. They stole it from you already. Go get it back. The government's never going to give you all the money back that it stole from you. So you might as well try and get some of it back. What if Elon Musk has always been that guy that's taken government money in order to fund projects, I'm not saying this is true. I'm just throwing it out there that one of the interpretations of Elon Musk could be that very thing. Hey, I'll just go get a whole bunch of government money to build a private space program, which NASA has put the kibosh on for decades. And I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And by the way, private space program, big fucking deal within the hardcore libertarian community. And many of them have tried to start a private space program, but have not been able to do so because of NASA and the DoD. right? So what if he's that? And now,
Well,
I
I always assume
after he cashed out fuck you money, real fuck you money, the guy has $40 billion in cash, not stock, fucking real honest to God fuck you money. The next thing he does is he wants to turn around and buy Twitter with it.
right.
Like, dude, if I were Elon, because this is the way, if I were a guy like Elon Musk, I don't have that drive. I don't have that entrepreneur. I don't have that real entrepreneurial spirit. I don't have the organizational skills to build a company and do all that shit. I can barely run a one-person shop. But if I had those skills with my mindset, I would do exactly what Elon Musk has done without even thinking about it. Oh yeah, I'll play the game. Sure, I'll go and just schmooze Obama at the cocktail parties. I'll do this. I'll show up at WF. I'll do. Oh yeah, yes, no, absolutely climate change. Yes, absolutely Solar City. Yes, absolutely this, and this. And then, oh look, I can see where they're going to take this thing. They're going to run Tesla up to the fucking moon. They're going to allow me to do creative fucking accounting and everything else, and then I'm going to steal $40 billion of their money and then buy their global communications control platform
and put it on his own untappable internet system in orbit.
Well, the other thing
it's like he
is
pulls.
we'll find out once he gets Twitter.
D'Anconia.
We'll find out once he gets control of Twitter whether things change.
Now,
yeah.
Will he
get
just
control
of Twitter, or will he continue to play the game of saying it's not worth the money? Then the fact that he hasn't done this yet, and I've said from the beginning, even if he doesn't buy Twitter, he's already blown open. He's already done a public service by blowing open the fraud that is Twitter.
Yeah, but
and if he doesn't buy Twitter,
that will also be brushed under the public consciousness rug within a month. I mean, already Roe v. Wade, no one's going to remember
the other interesting thing to surface out of this is the fact that I've always felt that Jack Dorsey was troubled by what had happened to Twitter.
I agree.
So I think Dorsey is a legitimate supporter of what Musk appears to be trying to do.
I think I think they may both be working the angle here. Look, at every level, you kind of have to make the big splash, force them to react and overreact, and then let it die down, and then play the game. I mean, there's a cycle and a rhythm to stories like this. But if Musk, really wants to, he's not going to buy Twitter for $1 more than it's worth, because now it's his real money, and he's getting real pushback from within the world. And if he doesn't buy it, that's fine. They've already excommunicated. He's already excommunicated,
which makes him dangerous.
Which makes him very dangerous. And it's not 2017 anymore, guys.
He might be John McAfee dangerous.
Whose body they still haven't released to the public.
Apparently he's in deep freeze or something. Yeah. Probably there with Epstein.
Yep.
So I was going to say maybe kind of final comments, because we've run this for 3.5 hours now.
I think this is my third cigar. I think I'm about done. My throat can't handle it anymore.
I'm on my fourth water bottle and second piss break. Is there any viability to the idea of a military coup in 2024?
Hopefully not.
I know, hopefully not. But I mean, I'm not saying.
Part of the problem is the military is now all woke. I mean, I think my sources say that the military has been totally purged of rational, blue-blooded American types, and it's been very much taken over by, I don't know if they're anti-American, but they're political.
Well,
more political than normal.
Even at the full bird colonel level, because I know at the general level it's fucked.
Well,
I have a friend who I asked, why don't you want to try to be a general? He was going to be promoted, and he said, it's too political. I don't want to.
Well, my logic is
that's my big question is the full bird colonels the guys who are going to have to lead the revolution?
Well, my logic is this, and it's not a good one. It's not something I want to happen, but just looking at it from like an unemotional viewpoint, is that you have the last handful, whatever handful means, 500, whatever, of older guys who are going, I'm not watching the woke ship. I'm not watching the woke ship go under. They're going to do it. Some guys that were hardened by the Cold War and they're going, hey, we're used to existential threats. This place is fucked. There's an administration in charge that's dismantling it. They're looking at it and they're going, I'd rather be hung than betray the flag. I'm not saying it's good. It just seems like you have some guys almost like McAfee types who are going, LeMay and Patton, Eisenhower, they're spinning in their graves.
Right.
I don't know.
I'm not saying it's good.
I think the question is, what does it look like at the kernel level?
Yeah.
And I think it becomes regional at that point. And the bigger question is, the state guards and whatnot, and the National Guard for each state. I don't think it's as bad as I think Twitter makes everything worse and it's not real life.
Oh, sure. Yeah, of course.
And I think the media is not real life. And I think there's a lot more. I think if the people demanded it, we'll see.
Yeah.
I don't have a good answer for it, Tommy. I really don't.
Yeah.
I hope not.
No, neither do I. There's nothing.
What I hope is that when it comes down to it, and when they go to push this thing to its breaking point,
to the precipice,
that when the states decide that's enough, that the colonels make the right decision and tell their men to stand down and to defy the orders of the generals.
Yeah.
That's where I think spooks start civil wars, militaries end.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're dancing up to that point.
Mm-hmm. And Davos is absolutely trying to create that. And
Davos
that's their fallback plan.
They're asphyxiating themselves and jerking off manically.
Yep. While they fuck little children.
Yes, while they fuck little children. And we will go into this podcast we will leave this podcast the way we went in. Davos fucks.
Sorry about that. I couldn't help it. I'm like, I have an opportunity to bring it back around full circle. I had to.
Dave, closing thoughts.
I wonder what it's going to look like 3 years from now. It seems like an important 3 years. I agree with that. I think Tom said that.
2 years.
I have this fear that the election is not going to be a landslide, and as a consequence, people are going to say this is rigged. And then you really get Civil War flavored stuff, because I think there were enough people who were willing to stand down from that model. I did Twitter polls afterwards. My Twitter polls show that people don't believe the election's legit.
Mm-hmm.
Even left wing. I said, do you believe it was legit or not? Do you lean left or right? And so you get 4 answers. And it was about a 2 or 3 to 1 bias in favor of them being rigged, and it was nonpartisan. And I got quite a large number of thousands of votes. And so I think there's a lot of people with a subliminal awareness. There's a ton of people who know that January 6th is horseshit. Right. And now, not to say that they think it was good optics or anything, but the idea that people are in jail in solitary for a year without a trial just sits poorly with everybody. And I think watching the truckers get their ass kicked up in Canada, things like that are starting to wear people down. And so I think if we have an election that looks like it ought to be a romp of the Democrats, and all of a sudden it turns into not a romp of the Democrats, I think that the election integrity is going to come into view so clearly. I think one of the mistakes you make is to somehow think that there is a good guy, bad guy.
Well, no, of course.
So, there aren't white hats.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
There are black hats, and there are guys who are trying to take.
I think they're individual white hats, but I think, Ron Paul finished his career and said, I achieved nothing.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think there are factions that you temporarily align yourself with. Politics makes strange bedfellows. I never thought I'd be cheering for Wall Street, but if they're against the kid fuckers in Davos and they just don't want, my gas price to go up. Well,
I've got to do more reading on that theory. That I'm still trying to figure out how you get me to support Wall Street.
No, but that's what I mean. Is just a temporarily aligned
Wall
thing.
Street, just some of it,
or the
whatever, and only because of enlightened self-interest. They're trying to save themselves.
That's what I mean. It's
Right.
temporarily
It's not
aligned
about-
interests.
It's
not that
about,
we're
it's
all
not about that,
boys.
it's not about them trying to beat.
We're the
They
good
understand that the
guys.
bigger threat is them.
Yeah,
There's
no,
a bigger
they
threat to
want
stop us.
they want their yachts with their hookers and their caviar. I want chicken breast that doesn't cost $10. We temporarily are strange bedfellows.
Yeah,
Well,
I
the
still
other
want to be
thing
able
is,
to.
I think the internet might have guaranteed a battle of the bastards. It may be that when the internet went live, we were set on a course that was unstoppable
I think
for some sort of serious conflagration.
I think Starlink it will probably is Elon's like probably biggest ace in the hole is something that a bunch of Antifa people can't attack. It's an orbit based internet. So when they go
Right.
full woke and censor everything, he will still have something in orbit.
Yeah, because
It'll
at
be-
that point, blockchain DNS and is a big deal. Like
Yeah.
you have to realize that there's the plumbing of the internet has really hardened itself. There's many opportunities for us to stop them from deplatforming us.
Yeah.
And we're, there's so many angles on that. So yeah, I'm waiting patiently for Elon to put a fucking satellite over North Florida, for Christ's sake, so that I've already paid him the money. I'm ready for it. I'm done with the SL. I'll keep it as a backup. It's whatever it is.
There's
And
even silly little things like, this will seem so stupid to some people or not even familiar, but booting Rudy Havenstein,
yeah,
right? I mean, it's like kicking Mother Teresa off Twitter or something, right? Rudy went looking for fights. He was inflexibly willing to antagonize people
Sure.
of power, but he never did it in a way that would get you booted from Twitter by
Right.
normal rules. And I think that cut deeper on more people than we could have imagined. His follower count would indicate that he was potentially expendable. But I think there's an awful lot of people who said, no, what's going on there?
yeah, no, that was surprising because
It was, especially because Jack follows Rudy.
yeah, no, seriously, like it's very weird. Like it's very weird. But sometimes you cross the wrong person, and they have egos. They're very thin.
It's like I think it was a Tunisian who lit himself on fire that started Arab Spring.
Right.
Yeah, he's an intern for the CIA.
Well,
No, I'm kidding.
Well, but I refer to him as an incredibly flammable Tunisian, right? Or whatever he was. I can't remember.
He had like a fruit stand or something.
Yeah, and he just said, fuck it, I've had enough. Like the monks burning themselves in Vietnam.
Yep. Same thing.
Right. You want one? Here's one that I'm not thrilled by. George Floyd couldn't have known dying was going to be his greatest moment in his life.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
I'll leave you guys with this. I saw the best tweet yesterday. I don't know if it's real or a lie. The guy tweeted out yesterday. He said, so I went to fill up my diesel truck the other day, and it cost me $187.20. Shut up, boo-boo. And so I drove
your
off.
wife or your dog?
That's boo-boo. That's the rat there. Yes, he wants to get off his line and go inside. He's hot. I'm like, so I went to fill up my tank. It was $187.20. So I drove off and didn't pay. My court date is July 14th. It's July 17th. At which point I either have to show up or pay the $85 fine. So in my mind, I've saved $102.20. And for other cost-saving tips,
follow me.
Follow this channel.
Well, the other thing though, so we start running out of diesel and real salt of the earth Joe six-pack start getting mad, right?
How long?
The inflation. How are
the legacy of Roe v. Wade is that all the blacks and Hispanics realize that this is all a bunch of upper middle class white women who don't want to see them breeding. They got the memo.
Sanger. Yeah.
They're so angry at the obviousness of this. The backlash in the fall is going to be obscene. And Biden's approval ratings on every issue amongst blacks and Hispanics is in the 20s. They cannot win another election in this country.
How long until we see PMCs at gas stations? Start seeing private military contractors.
Yeah.
I think by New Year's, I think 2023, they'll start small. You'll just have a guy kind of, walking through the pumps and stuff, visible firearm, nothing much. I think by 2024, we're looking at carbines, by 2025 we have sandbags around gas stations. I think.
Gas stations.
Oh yeah.
I don't think it lasts that long. I think.
Oh, no,
we
we'll all
get to
be-
that point. I think we get to that point. It's the Sunshine Republic of Florida. Recite the oath at the border or fuck off.
At that point, I won't be here. My Valium overdosed body will be rotting. I said, fuck $70 gas. I'm out.
Well, let us know. We'll use you to fertilize our victory garden.
Hey, I will happily die. I will give my body to my country. You guys can make potatoes out of my dirty Irish pig body.
That is high irony there.
I know.
And
I know.
on that happy note,
Gentlemen, that was a fucking blast. We need to do it again. That was fucking incredible. I think we'll have to do it again sometime, and I'll get some beer. And Dave, you'll get some liquor, and we'll all get some cigars, and we'll really go down the rabbit hole.
If I ever start podcasting drunk, I'm in a world of trouble.
I've done one podcast shit-faced, and I did it with two of my buddies. Lasted for 4 hours.
I used the Periscope drunk, and then it was bad.
We did it.
And then now I can have one.
It's like what I used to love is drunk history. Remember drunk history?
Yeah.
That was great.
So what we did an episode the day after McAfee suicided himself, and we thought it was gonna be brilliant. To date I have not uploaded the episode. It's called The Lost Episode. I watched it the next day. It is wrong on so many. I mean, I think it's legally actionable. Like
I now want to watch this, Tommy.
It is.
So you can send me the link to the unpublished YouTube or whatever it is. I want to see it.
I will not pass along either if you send it to me. I did a Real Vision podcast. I flew to New York and did it, and it got deep six by their producer.
Really?
Did it?
And I think it was because it came about a week after I got my ass canceled by the students. Right. I think he was trying to protect the brand or something. Sure. And it wasn't until I explained it to Grant, who was on his way out the door. And I said, yeah, I did an interview and it never got aired. He goes, what are you talking about? I said, never got aired. He says, he was confounded. I said, yeah, I sat down with Tony Greer for an hour and we talked, and they did a 4-minute promo, and that's all that got aired. And so then it got uploaded. They called it The Lost Episode.
The Lost Episode. Yeah, I have a Lost Episode. Yeah, there's a fine line. You can't get blackout drunk. That's what I found. You watch it the next day and you're just like, Christ almighty, this is not going up. I don't want to get right. I might get a knock at the door.
I don't ever have more than one or two at any one time.
No.
Anyway, because
I am such a non-drinker. I drink about a beer every 2 years to show that it's not a wagon thing, and then get a whopping hangover and swear it off again. And so I drink a sip of wine occasionally or a sip of champagne, and that's it.
All right. Well, then we'll smoke some meth or something. So I'm a little less.
Yeah. I'll have to come up with a vice.
We'll wrap this bitch up. Mr. Luongo, Mr. Collum, thank you so much. I'll email to you guys when it's up. It'll be up later this evening. Thank you so much, guys. God bless. God bless America. Stay safe, everybody.